set? Streaming's connected. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Before we get our meeting started, just a reminder to silence your mobile devices, please. All right. Today it's Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. It's 10:02 a.m. There's a quorum present. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. On to item number 2 is to convene as the Story County Board of County Commissioners, bringing us to item number 3, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can all stand and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving right along to item number 4 of today's agenda is public comment. Public comment is welcomed at the beginning and end of each meeting. These comments should be limited to matters not on today's calendar agenda. Public comment is again welcomed after each item on the agenda. Those comments should be limited to the agendized topic. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per individual. With that said, is there any public comment in the courtroom today? If there is, I ask that you come on up, state your name for the record, and that would be fantastic. Just to be sure, this isn't about any specific agenda item we have?
Right.
Awesome.
Stand here.
Yep. Yes, please.
I prepared some packet for the board members.
Great.
There's 4 or 5 of you.
There's 3 of us.
There's 3 of you.
And then if you wanted to give one to the clerk treasurer, we can put it on the record as well.
Thank you. Here, I'll give one to the clerk too. Do you have enough?
Yes, I guess I do.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Should I go ahead and start?
Please.
My name's Shayna Rose, formerly Shayna Hamner, and I'm here to talk about 3 important issues. I do not have access to my property on 6 Mile Canyon Road. We have a new site address out there, and there are cemented poles, chain, and padlock on a Nevada Energy utility road, a dirt pile and barbed wire fence where there was once a road. I'm requesting to be on the line item agenda on the first meeting of the month until my issue is resolved. I have attached 3 easement letters to my 3 neighbors, and I will send certified letters today, February 3rd, requesting response in a 30-day time frame. I've attached a parcel map of section 25. This is on 6 Mile Canyon, down 6 Mile Canyon Road, with highlighted easement roads and common use utility access roads. And I've circled where the road has been changed, altered, and blocked. That's the 4th page from the back of your packet. We are requesting the county commissioners and Nevada Energy to communicate our rights for access on existing utility roads. I have attached 2 different common use agreements for section 25 and Manukin parcels from the Story County Recorder's Office. When I spoke with Nevada Energy Land Resource Manager, this was just January 21st, he said, and I quote, "We do allow residents to gate our utility roads, but we must have a key. Because of the non-compliance with this property owner, we would like to combine our concerns with the Nevada Energy's request. We are in the process of planning our own road, but in the meantime, we need access to our property. Due to the nature of our property's perimeter, which is parcel 38, that's on the same 4th from the back of the site map, parcel 38, we do at this time plan to use the utility road and build our own home, Um, Something I wanted to add, none of the roads were altered or changed when we bought the property in 2022, spring of 2022. And since then, you can see on the map there's 3 different areas that it's been altered or changed, and we are completely, we don't have access anymore. On the very last page, there's a picture of a broken brace or cross member to Nevada Energy utility pole. And from our vantage point coming down the backside of our property, you could see it. You can't really see that disrepair of the pole from any other angle. In April, when we noticed that we were blocked from our property, we called Nevada Energy because we also noticed that utility pole had not been repaired. And so we called the technician, and the technician spoke to my husband. He did go out there, but he was also blocked from the metal poles, padlock, and gate that is there now. So that was April of last year. I called Nevada Energy and put in the request with the, spoke with the land resources manager at Nevada Energy. But that's the only communication I've had with him since just a few weeks ago. So like I said, we want to make this an important issue and update you guys every month as we go forward.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Do you guys have your contact information on here somewhere? If not, can you leave that with us, please?
And Mr. Chair, I'll just let you know that I've been reached as well, and we have a file going just for this with contact information.
Oh, we do? Okay, we already have contact information then. Thank you for that. Is there any other public comment today in the courtroom? Please come on up.
Morning.
Morning.
My name's Jeff Goldsworthy. I'm with the Volunteer Fire Department. Last year, Fire Chief requested the volunteers rebuild the hose house up on Seward, which was collapsing. So we took it down to the B Street barn. It is ready to go back up. There's a pad up there now and a retaining wall. I've tried to get in touch with Public Works. We need equipment just to get it back up onto the pad. I'm not having any luck getting any response, so I'm hoping maybe we can, it'd basically take a telehandler, maybe a couple hours. Once it's on the pad, the volunteers will take back over and we'll take care of it from there. It's just getting it up there. Also, there's been talk about the B Street barn, clearing that out because there's still museum equipment down at Station 75 in the warehouse. I know the county has requested that equipment comes out. If we could finish clearing out that barn, I'm pretty sure we can fit all that equipment in the barn. So if we could run that down, that'd be great.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment today? All right, not seeing any more public comment, we're going to move right along to item number 5, which is discussion for possible action. Consideration and possible approval of the agenda for the February 3rd, 2026 meeting. County Manager Osborne, are there any changes to today's agenda?
We don't have any recommended, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments on the agenda today?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, thanks.
How about public comment on the agenda or items contained within? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve today's agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 6, which is discussion for possible action, consideration and possible approval of the minutes from the January 6, 2026 meeting. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments on those minutes?
None, thank you.
All right, Vice Chairman?
No, thanks.
How about public comment regarding those minutes? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes from our January 6th, 2026 meeting as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 7 is today's consent agenda. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments regarding the consent agenda?
None, thank you.
All right, Vice Chairman?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, is there any public comment regarding the consent agenda today? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve today's consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 8. This is discussion only, no action, no public comment will be taken. These are committee and staff reports. We're going to kick things off at the Sheriff's Office today.
Commissioners, good morning. Sheriff Cullen for the record. I wasn't going to speak, but I had a request to speak quickly on pigeon feeding here in town. And it's actually come up quite a bit recently. Noticed a lot more pigeon droppings on the boardwalk as well. I'm going to read the regulations. 630, regulations for feeding pigeons. 630.010, feeding of pigeons prohibited. No person shall feed a non-domesticated pigeon nor place feed in a place or manner that a reasonable person would expect to result in feeding a non-domesticated pigeon in any area of Virginia City or Gold Hill. This section does not apply to domesticated pigeons such as those kept for racing, entertainment, performances, or agricultural purposes. And then any 630.020 violation, any person who violates a provision is guilty of this chapter is guilty of a misdemeanor. So it is a misdemeanor to feed pigeons. And I know we've had some incidents recently. We've had a few offenders that we've talked to, and they stopped, as far as I know. However, we have a few offenders that are trying to skirt it a little bit and continue. To this point, we've given warnings and no citations. But I'm here to answer any questions that you all might have regarding pigeons feeding.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioner Gilman, any questions or comments about feeding?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I was going to ask if we have an anonymous tip line for repeat offense. I'm just kidding. I appreciate your attention to this matter. It is getting to be quite a nuisance around the main street. Thank you.
I don't have any questions for you, Sheriff. Appreciate it.
Okay. If you do have any questions, please call me.
Thank you very much. Moving right along to the Fire Protection District.
Good morning, Bob Reiser, Fire Chief for the record. Just a positive update. We have made an offer to fill our vacant fire inspector position. A pretty good testing process for us. It's nice to talk with some of the other chiefs and realize that they're struggling to get people in to test, and we had 25 applicants with a good number that were qualified or above qualified as far as replacement of the previous position. We have made a conditional offer, and that has so far been accepted, and we should be filling that open position on the 9th. So that's positive for us because they get pretty backlogged, as you can imagine, with everything that goes on out in the park and throughout the county. So just excited that we were able to get that done, and another one where we're leading the pack a little bit compared to some of the neighbors, which is good.
Great news. Commissioner Gilman, any questions or comments for the chief?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I'm good, thanks.
Appreciate the update, man. Good news. About Public Works? All right. How about Projects Manager, Mike Northern?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Northen, Project Manager. Fire Station 71 remodel, contract for design is in review by the architect. Following that, the contract will be sent for legal review and then presented before the board at an upcoming meeting. The TRI Sheriff's Office substation, we're currently waiting on a proposal for design services for county review. Mark Twain Vehicle Storage Building, designers are working on updated plans. Contractor has completed all the submittals, so we're working to get the groundbreaking as soon as possible. TRI restroom remodel, this one's going very well. Finishing up the plumbing, finishing up the top outs, and moving into finishes. And the fairgrounds remodel, or the fairgrounds improvement, I should say. Bids will be open on Friday, and we'll have results hopefully at the next BoCC meeting. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Commissioner Gilman, questions, comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman? Thanks. All right. Appreciate the update, man. How about Projects Manager Chris Trotta?
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Trotta, Capital Projects for the record. Have 5 projects to report on today. First one is the water line replacement from Highway 580 to top of Siphon. Pipeline design is approximately 60% complete. We are currently securing easements for the entire project, beginning with the 3 state-owned parcels in Washoe State Park. Next project is the courthouse fence. We have successfully created 3 historically accurate cast iron molds for the 3 castings it takes to produce the courthouse fence. We have approved the castings for those molds and are creating the fence slats this month. This process is exactly the same as when the fence was originally created. Next project is the Piper Opera House. The contractor has signed the contract for the refurbishment of the 12 entry doors and 5 south side windows. We are scheduling the kickoff meeting for that project. Separately in Piper's, we have completed the seismic work at the entry column, and that work is now complete. Next project is the water tank upgrades. We have finalized the contract review for the refurbishment and ongoing maintenance for all 7 domestic water tanks in our system. We will be online with that program in the spring. Next and final project is the Gold Hill wastewater collection system piping. We are working towards 100% construction drawings, and we will be submitting for permit in the upcoming months. We are working very hard to see if we can get this project out to bid by spring or early summer so that the project can actually be completed this year. And with that, I'd take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments for Chris?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Good, thanks.
All right, great update, man.
Thank you.
How about our Business Development Director? Okay. Grants Manager?
Sarah Sturts for the record. So the county has been in touch with Rosen's office regarding the 2024 Water Resources Development Act, which is also known as WRDA, which mostly handles Army Corps funding. The county was authorized for $10 million for our lead siphon project in that WRDA bill. However, Rosen's office recently let us know that the WRDA bill gave authorization for the projects, but not necessarily funding. So I'd like to note that our original understanding of this WRDA bill was that the county would receive the full $10 million in the form of a grant after that bill had passed. So Rosen's office let us know that other projects that were listed in that 2024 WRDA bill were funded through that community project funding process, or that CPF process, also known as the federal appropriation process, and that the Army Corps projects are typically funded in increments, so we're not going to get that $10 million all in one chunk. So Rosen's office recommended that we phase the project and ask for $1 to $2 million as a CPF request over the next few years. So with that guidance, I am planning to submit a CPF request for that lead siphon project to the Senator's office, and we've received board approval for our 4 other original CPF requests that we were going to submit this year, so I will submit another agenda item for this lead siphon request. That's all I have today.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments for Sarah?
No, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Thanks.
All right, appreciate the update.
Thank you.
How about our admin officer? No updates at this time. Oh, thank you. Emergency management? Nothing today. What the BCTC?
Good morning, Todd Tuttle, Director of Tourism, for the record. We continue to receive accolades relating to the ABA conference that was held here in Reno and the visits that we had up to it, so it was very successful even as it continues. Coming up, just for the record, February 14th, with Saturday, the Devil Made Me Do It Saloon Crawl ticket sales have been exceeding what we've seen in the past, so we're expecting a pretty good turnout for it. We're keeping our fingers crossed for good weather. St. Mary's in the Mountain will be having a bake sale. The V&T will have Love Off the Rails, a murder mystery. There will be a Valentine's country music train. There will be a Valentine's Day dance at Fourth Ward School. And there will be the Sweethearts and Spirits Tea at Mackey Mansion. So a lot going on February 14th for Valentine's Day. March 14th is on Saturday, once again, is the Rocky Mountain Oyster Fry. It'll be from 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. St. Patrick's Day Parade will be at 12 o'clock noon. And the St. Patty Made Me Do It Saloon Crawl will be from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Looking forward to a great event as usual to kick off all of the big event seasons. April 11th, which again is a Saturday, is the Father-Daughter Day and Dance. Continues to be a sold-out event and very popular with it. There's been quite a number of requests to increase the number of dances that are held, so we're looking into that. It will be from 11 o'clock to 4:30. On Saturday, April 24th, the Renegade Orchestra will be performing at Piper's Opera House from 7 o'clock to 9 p.m., so keep that on schedule. Very popular. Tickets usually sell out for that one, so if you'd like to attend. And a reminder, the Mix and Mingle at Piper's Opera House will be February 10th at 5:30 p.m. Any questions?
Thank you for that update, Todd. Commissioner Gilman, questions, comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, thank you.
All right, again, appreciate the news, Todd. Thank you. Comptroller's Office. All right. Planning Department?
Nothing today.
Okay. Health and Community Services?
Good morning, Stacy York for the record. We had to cancel our first Dementia Friendly Nevada meeting in January due to weather, but it's been rescheduled for Thursday, February 12th at 2:30 at Piper's. It is open to the public, so anybody that wants to learn more about dementia, has a relative family member that is suffering, please come join us. We just wrapped up our fiscal year 22 audit with Aging and Disability Services, so we're waiting for that to come back, see how we did with it. It was 4 years ago, so it was fun to pull all that information up. I'm going to be hopefully bringing numbers to you guys next meeting. The state has decided to switch their reporting process, and we no longer have access to it, so trying to get the numbers for what we did last year is becoming a bit of a challenge, but we have had massive increases, I can tell you that much. And that is it.
Great. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments for Stacy?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, thanks.
All right, appreciate the update. Good news out there, thank you. How about the IT Department?
Morning, Commissioners. James Dean, Story County IT Director. A few updates. We moved the Lockwood Senior Center cameras and access control project from the next budget year up to this one because the project cost came in lower than expected. So we'll be having cameras and locking systems out there in the next few weeks. Also, the fiber project in town, all of our building-to-building connections at 10 gigabit are installed and working. And that's coinciding with our need to upgrade our data center switching, routing, and firewalls. We're on a 5-year refresh plan. It's year 5, so we'll be going to 100 gigabit in our data centers. And that's required because of all the aggregate 10 gigabit connections that are coming in. So a substantial upgrade for the data center that's coming next budget year. Just want to give you a heads up, a little bit of sticker shock there. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, James. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments for James?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, thank you.
All right, keep an eye on that budget, James. Yep, thank you. Community Development? All right, thank you. How about our PIO? Okay. How about the Assessor's Office?
Nothing today, thank you.
All right. About the DA's office?
No update this morning.
All right, thank you. County Manager?
Morning, thank you. Austin Osborne for the record. Just a couple little updates. Commissioner Mitchell and I had the opportunity to join the regional or the TRPA and Marlette Oversight Committee of the Legislature last week. Gave a short presentation per their request on just kind of the current future state of affairs with regard to the water system serving Virginia City, Gold Hill, and Silver City. There were some good questions from them about future growth potentially in this area, and we did discuss some infill development as well as potentials for other types of development in the county and in the area, and found it to be pretty useful and appreciated the board's opportunity to speak. Also there was Washoe County gave a presentation as well as Douglas County and the state of Nevada on the system. Similar to that, upcoming, we were noticed last Friday that the Regional Rail Transit Advisory Working Group of the legislature during the interim committee has invited us and others to come and speak about rail projects and other transportation. We are coordinated with the Washoe RTC as well as Reno, Sparks, and Washoe, and some other jurisdiction also are reaching out to them, and they've agreed that they would like to take some lead on this and talk about the rail study that they're doing and where that is going. And they've asked if we'd be willing as participating partners just to come and give any support or any background that might be helpful in the discussion. So that is planned for February 23. Commissioner Mitchell and I are working with our folks to plan for that, and we think it'll be a good opportunity to talk about regional cooperation and things that we're working on. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Austin. Commissioner Gilman, you have any questions or comments for Austin?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman? All right, appreciate the update. How about the Clerk Treasurer's Office?
Nothing today, Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, before we wrap up, is there anybody here that would like to give an update that I did not call on? All right, thank you again, everybody, for all that good news happening in Story County. Much appreciated. Moving right along to item number 9 on today's agenda is board comment. I'll start off to my left. Commissioner Gilman, anything for us today?
None today, thank you.
All right, Vice Chairman?
I just wanted to echo the comments of the county manager around our presentation at the Marlette Committee for the legislature. The members of that committee have several times have complimented the county manager on the great presentation that he gave. So it was fantastic. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a great meeting on Thursday, the state of the county. So thank you for that, County Manager. I don't have anything else for today. We're going to move right along to item number 10, which is discussion for possible action. As directed by the board at the January 20th, 2026 board meeting, further discussion and consideration, directing county staff to research and develop findings and recommendations regarding potential ordinances, limiting certain short-term rental vacation rentals to persons at or above 25 years old or another age limit, and to engage with the community in developing draft regulations regarding the allowance, use, and management of short-term rental use countywide. I just want to note we did postpone this item. We do have somebody on Zoom, the constituent that actually asked this to be brought to the table. So when we're ready for him, he is available. But County Manager, I'll let you take it.
All right, thank you, Chairman Austin Osborne. For the record, really, I welcome this board to ask any questions of us and staff that may be helpful to this. Otherwise, I'd be perfectly happy to defer time over to our guest speaker.
All right. Before we kick it on to Paul, are you guys comfortable if, do you have any questions right off the bat for Paul? Or did you want Paul to just jump in and kind of give us a rationale for this
I think
request?
the rationale I'd like to hear.
Okay, great. Paul, are you with us?
Yes, Mr.
All right, did you hear that request from the commission?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you have the floor.
My name is Paul Malloy. I'm a business owner and resident of Story County for record. I brought this to Commissioner Jay regarding STRs only, and when I speak of STRs, I'm talking about Airbnb, Verbo properties where there is not a manager on site. I'm not trying to implement this on hotels, bed and breakfast. I've spoken with the owners of those, and they are okay with it, but I do not want to implement this on them. The reason for this is you can't even rent a car under 25, but the platforms, the biggest two platforms that I do my property on are obviously Airbnb and Verbo. They will not allow me to post on their site if I have on there, you are required to be 25 or older, unless it is a city ordinance. And what ends up happening there is already had damages twice, over $1,500, and it was by under 25-year-old people. I'll leave it at that. And there was some underage drinking as well involved in that. Unfortunately, Virginia City, I love the town, does have a drinking mentality of saloon crawls, lots of bars and stuff of that nature, which is awesome. I have no issues with that whatsoever. However, if you're able to rent a property, you're under 25, and you can bring in some alcohol, there's nobody on site on these STRs, which is myself included. I happen to be living close to my property, but I don't have access to it. They have their own entrance. I have no entrance to it until they are out of the property. The reason why I bring this is a couple reasons. Number one is my insurance company is acting like it's a car, and if I'm running into people under 21, we have raised my rates 11.2% for coverage of my property. If I can have wording from an ordinance that says we only allow 25 and above, that drops back down, which saves me quite a bit of money as well. And then, again, I just want to be very clear, I'm not looking to affect the hotels, the bed and breakfasts, because they already have on-site managers 24/7. So that is kind of why I have brought this up to see. I know Douglas County has it as 25 and older. I did talk with a couple of people at Airbnb in Verbo, and they were also okay with, if the ordinance stated, the owner can allow the renters to be required to be 25. So we could also word it that way. I didn't want to come in, tell everybody what to do. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling and see if this is something that we could work with. And I am available for any questions. Anybody has any?
Thank you for that, Paul. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions at this time?
How many of these types of rentals do we have in our county?
Paul, do you happen to know how many?
To my knowledge, sir, I know of 4, to my knowledge.
In Virginia City?
That use the platform that I use. And one of them is Deborah Hayward. She uses the same platform I do, Evolve. There's one down on I Street, and I believe there's one in Gold Hill, and then there's also one on E Street. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I'm aware of. That are STRs, with no manager on that.
All right, thank you, Paul. Did you have something to add, Austin?
Austin Osborne for the record. I'm being told by our planning office, roughly, we believe there's about 10 of them in the county. Not quite sure if it's on-site or off-site, but short-term rentals will be of roughly 10.
Okay.
Does changing something like this negatively affect any of those 10? Or are they all kind of on the same page here?
Paul, did you hear that question?
I have spoken with, yes, I did, Paul Miller at the record. I have spoken with, I only know the 5. I've spoken with 3 of the 5 because I know them personally. Deborah Hayward being one, and the gentleman over here on E Street. And then there's also one that only advertises on the BoCC. I cannot remember his name. He came in and I explained to him and he was okay with it. He does use these platforms. He only uses BoCC and he doesn't allow anybody under 25 to rent his property. Deborah Hayward didn't oppose it at all. The gentleman down on B Street was basically says he requires it. He's there when they check in. I noticed his posting has dropped down dramatically too because he has 25 on his paperwork, and it puts on the back burner when you put required to be 25. So I don't see, I have not heard of any, nobody has said no to me. Even the Airbnb, that bed breakfast, Jason Burden seemed to be okay with it. Sarah Ann at E Street was okay with it, but again, I'm not trying to ask them to be required to be 25.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilman, just to add to your question, assuming we see fit, just to clarify, and Vice Chairman as well, we're not, the item on the agenda would be, if we're okay with it, to have staff look into it. I would say staff would possibly check with the short-term rental folks. So we'll get confirmation on the county side from that?
Or pull them into a public process.
Yeah, pull them into the public process.
Understood.
Perfect. Any other questions?
No, not at this time.
Vice Chairman?
Just one. Paul, did I understand that if we were to pass an ordinance that was permissive and not required, in other words, that allowed you, that acknowledged that you were allowed to restrict to 25 and over, that your understanding is that would meet the need to allow these platforms to enforce that or to allow you to offer that?
Yes, as long as I have an ordinance that states that the Story County ordinance is allowing STR owners to require 25 years or older, just the not enforcing, you don't have to tell me that, like, you can say they must be 25 or older, but if you also say, or allow the owner to require them to be 25 or older, that instantly drops my insurance down 11.2%, and I'm allowed to put that in my ad as well, that you're required to be 25 and older, and they don't get pulled from those platforms. You are correct.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I'm certainly open to discussing all of it, but it feels to me like a light touch like that, an enabling ordinance as opposed to a mandatory ordinance might be the best of both worlds, where it doesn't necessarily force people to run their business in a certain way, but gives them an option if that's what they think is best for their business.
Any other questions, statements?
No, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions at this time. I'm going to go to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that has some public comment about this item? All right, not seeing any. At this point, are you gentlemen ready to make a motion, or would you like to have a little further discussion?
Well, I have just one other kind of question. You know, when you first brought this to us, it was a fairly focused, limited, one issue item. My brain went, hey, if we're going to talk about this, maybe we talk about a broader discussion around short-term rentals, because we don't have a whole lot of guardrails around how we treat those. And I don't necessarily, while I do see that as an opportunity, I don't necessarily want to make it so broad that it holds things up. And so I don't know, maybe staff can tell us if it's helpful to consider those as two separate conversations, or if it's better to look at everything together. I just know that when we do something major, often it takes more time to really dig and formulate a policy proposal on that. Whereas if we get very specific to this one issue, we might be able to get it done quicker, and then a follow-on conversation about the other stuff, so.
Want to add anything?
Sure. Austin Osborne for the record. What's happening right now is with the planning office and some other offices, we're revamping some of our ordinances. Short-term rentals is one of those elements in both in Title 17 for land use planning, as well as potentially in some other areas like business licensing and structure. So I think there is opportunity to fold this into that update that's ongoing right now. We're already in the middle of it. We also can put a small little group together if we need to maybe expedite a couple elements of this to get into the community a little bit more, get some feedback, and then get that integrated in there and get this back to the board for workshops along the way. So by the time everything is pulled together and ready for this board, it's ready for a motion. We could certainly do that. I don't think that'll be an issue as we're looking at this holistically anyway.
Okay.
Great.
I'm flexible either way.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like it's already kind of in progress, and I can roll it in, so.
Okay. Just one more time, is there any other public comment? Come on up, please. State your name for the record.
Absolutely.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean O'Hara for the record, representing Sierra Nevada Association of Realtors. Just to be clear, if this is going to be a broader discussion, Sierra Nevada Realtors believe it's a fundamental property right to have the ability to rent, sell, or keep their property vacant as they see fit. Realtors further believe that limiting a homeowner's use of their property in any way is taking away their rights. When a homeowner's ability to rent their property is taken away, one of these fundamental property rights has been taken away. Renting is a residential use regardless of duration. One's interest in the property, whether it be an owner, renter, or the duration or occupancy, whether short-term or long-term, is irrelevant to the issue of use. There are many existing codes and ordinances in place that address misuses of property. I know that's been a concern of many people, such as nuisance and noise complaints. Realtors believe in the enforcement of these codes and ordinances, and what owners choose to do with their property without unreasonable disturbances of their neighbors is their right. However, an owner chooses their right to their property, and how they use it is their basic right. Realtors believe property ownership includes the right to possess, use their property, and the ability to control it, who has access to the property, and the right to gain income from that property by foregoing personal use and allowing others to use it. As far as the age restriction, we believe Airbnb, VRBO, they should make agreements with the owners. Owners should do what they see fit. If it's a mandatory issue, I think realtors would have an issue. If it's more of a permissive, or like you were saying, a general issue, I think they would be more inclined to consider something like that. So But no further comments.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment regarding this item? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared at this time to make a motion?
I am.
Okay.
I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to direct county staff to research and develop findings and recommendations regarding potential ordinances limiting certain short-term vacation rental to persons at or above 25 years old or another age limit, and engaging with the community in developing draft regulations regarding the allowance, use, and management of short-term rental uses countywide.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you to everybody who commented, and Paul, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 11, this is discussion for possible action. Discussion and possible approval appointing Donna Stafford to serve as the motel operator seat on the Virginia City Tourism Commission for a 2-year term. County Manager?
Give me a moment here, I just reset this. Well, it's in there somewhere, but I think we're fine. We have a vacancy on the VCTC Tourism Commission. And this one, we have conducted an interview of Donna Stafford. She was the only applicant for this opening. We find her to be extremely qualified for the position and well-suited for the community. She is the owner of the Virginia City Bed and Breakfast. She's from Northern Nevada. She understands small town and kind of the dynamics that we have in this community, and been here a long time. And we recommend her to be appointed for the vacancy that you have in front of you for the VCTC. And we appreciate her willingness to be part of this.
All right, thank you, Austin.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, I'm good.
Okay, is Donna here? Does she want to say anything? No? Okay. Vice Chairman, are you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to appoint Donna Stafford to serve on, I'm not sure if you did.
Is there any public comment on this item? Sorry, I think I forgot to ask that. All right, not seeing any, Vice Chairman. Sorry to
All
interrupt.
good. No, all good. Gotta do it right.
Yeah.
I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to appoint Donna Stafford to serve in the motel operator seat on the Virginia City Tourism Commission for a 2-year term.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations to Donna. Moving on to item number 12 is to recess to convene as the Story County Highway Board. Bringing us to item number 13, which is our 10:30 public hearing. So with that, I'm going to move to open this public hearing. If there's any public comment at this time regarding the items within this public hearing, please come up to the front, state your name for the record. All right, I'm going to call one more time. This is the public hearing on resolution number 26-812, 813, and 816. Is there any public comment for these items? All right, not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to close the public hearing on the proposed resolutions 26-812, 26-813, and 26-816.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 14. This is discussion for possible action. Consideration and possible approval of resolution number 26-812 proposes the identification of Story County Road number 910170, commonly known as Homestead Road. Jessica?
Hello, Jessica Prager for the record. So this road is commonly known as Homestead Road or Tunnel Road. It is located south of Virginia City and north of Gold Hill, connecting to Main Street. The road is broken up into 2 sections due to the nature of the road and how it exists today. The first segment is the paved portion of the road, and then it goes into the second segment, which is the unpaved portion of the road. And then within the resolution, it excludes any portion that is on private property.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioner Gilman, any questions or comments on this item?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
No, thank you.
All right, how about public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
I am. Do we have findings we have to do, or we just go ahead and do it?
No findings.
Resolution, excellent. In accordance with the recommendation by staff, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to adopt Resolution 26-812, identifying Story County Road number 910170, commonly known as Homestead Road, Segment 1, total road segment length of 1,138 feet, or 0.22 miles, overall average disturbed width approximately 20 feet, and Tunnel Road, Segment 2, total road segment length 4,048 feet, or 0.77 miles, overall average disturbed width of approximately 20 feet as a minor county road. The effect of identifying the road as a minor county road is to identify it as a public road available for public use, but not maintained by Story County. It must be used by motorists at their own risk.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. County Manager, what would you like to add right now?
I just want to point everything is fine on this, Austin, for the record. In the future, there's a bunch of these coming up. Our legal has opined before that you don't have to read the whole thing unless you really want to, and you probably could end that as also known as Homestead Road. So when these are upcoming, you're welcome to shorten them, I believe. Thank you. Other than that, go for it.
All right, thank you.
May I, before we vote, I actually had a question come to mind as I was making the motion.
Yeah.
A portion of this road is already paved. Is it the intention of the county to stop maintaining that? Was it the county that paved it? Is that privately done? What do we know?
I am unaware who paved it, who was responsible for that. And then it is my belief that the county will no longer maintain the paved portion of the road or the unpaved portion. So we won't be maintaining the paved portion or repaving it at some point or.
Okay. Do we know if the county has so far been maintaining any portion of this road?
I can turn to Jason.
Jason Morsbicki, Public Works, for the record. County did pave that short spur of Tunnel Road back under previous director, and it is currently plowed and maintained by us to a certain extent. The gravel portion, we have bladed it a couple times, put down grindings, but yeah, we do anticipate, since it's a paved section of road, to still maintain that to a certain extent.
Great, thank you. I was just hoping to make sure that we weren't reducing our level of service on the road. You know, not that we need to do more, but that by making this designation, we weren't doing less. So, thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jason. Moving on to item number 15, this discussion for possible action, consideration and possible approval of resolution number 26-813, proposes the identification of Story County Road number 910190, commonly known as Unnamed Road. Jessica?
Thank you, Jessica Prager, for the record. This road is unnamed and located south of Virginia City, just north of the Story County, Lyon County boundary line, and staff is recommending adoption of the resolution.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I'm good.
How about public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, in accordance with the recommendation by staff, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to adopt Resolution 26-813, identifying Story County Road number 910190, commonly known as unnamed, as a minor county road.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 16, which is discussion for possible action. Consideration and possible approval of resolution number 26-816, proposes the identification of Story County Road number 910390, commonly known as 7 Mile Canyon Road. Jessica?
Thank you, Jessica Prager, for the record. This road is commonly known as 7 Mile Canyon Road. It is located north of Virginia City and east of Geiger Grade. Within the resolution, it excludes any portion that is on private property, and staff is recommending adoption of the resolution.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Just one. We've done a lot of these. Have we already dealt with other portions of 7 Mile Canyon Road previously?
Previously, yes. I know that I have done one in the time that I have been here. And it is just portions and sections of the road, it's not the whole road. I know that I have done one previously, and there is no more along the 7 Mile Canyon now.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Do you mind please just coming up, I'm sorry, and just state your name for the record?
Name is Cody Rose, for the record, owner of parcel 38, section 25. Is this for section BLM land next to my parcel? For section 16, right?
And this is in the staff report. I'm going to show him the parcel map of where the road is located. And so this isn't where you are.
Yeah, I believe it's a little ways from your parcel.
It is,
Okay.
It's
more along the highway out here north of town as opposed to down 6 Mile.
Oh, okay.
it's more west of your property, near Geiger Grade.
I thought there was another section on the big 306 acre parcel of BLM land that they were putting some off-road grades into.
That parcel, from what I can tell, is this parcel. It's cut off on the top right here. So there's this huge BLM parcel that they have, and then this parcel up here, it's cut off from this picture, but that's the one that you were referring to.
Yeah. I thought that was part of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
All good? All right, thank you for that. Thanks for the clarification, Jessica. We left off at public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, in accordance with the recommendation by staff, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to adopt Resolution 26-816, identifying Story County Road number 910390, commonly known as 7 Mile Canyon Road, as a minor county road.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jessica. All right, moving right along to item number 17. This is discussion for possible action. Report of Public Works Department regarding roads and highways throughout Story County.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Jason Worsbicky for the record. Just a couple quick updates. We're full steam ahead on engineering for the 2026 road rehab project with some looks to be significant drainage improvements along Prospector Martin and Sutro Springs within our right-of-way as much as we can. There's a couple areas where we'll have to seek an easement or two potentially. And then we received our new motor grader last week. Thank you guys for approving that. And my guys and the mechanics are down at the old dump training on it today with all the Pape machinery people. So that's all I have at this point in time.
Great, thank you, Jason. Any comments, Commissioner Gilman?
None, thank you.
All right, Vice Chairman?
I was just going to say, I'm so glad we have those two snow blowers. I'm sure they're getting a lot of use this winter, huh?
They are. We're doing a lot of good training.
Yeah.
We call it, what is it? They're diversionary. They're keeping the weather away just because we got them, right?
Yeah, we got them out once this year so far.
Okay, good. At least they're not resting.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that update, Jason.
Yep.
Moving right along to item number 18 is to recess and convene as the Story County Fire Protection District Board. Bringing us to item number 19, which is discussion for possible action. Presentation, public workshop, discussion, and consideration directing staff regarding the updates of the Story County Fire Protection District Capital and Staffing Improvement Plan for fiscal year 26 through 31. Chief Reiser.
Fire Chief Bob Reiser for the record. As part of our annual process is development of our 5-year strategic capital improvement plan. We set out 6 key infrastructure goals that we want to make sure that we focus on as we grow the district. One is infrastructure, which we know we have processes going on right now with Station 71, Station 75, and then various other improvement projects. Equipment modernization, we still have some rather old pieces in the fleet, our oldest being 43 years old currently. It's long past its wear, so making sure we're replacing and coming up with modern, current NFPA standard equipment. Staffing enhancements, trying to get our staffing somewhat closer to a national standard model for where we are at based on our infrastructure, our urban versus rural status to try and meet NFPA standards, but slowly controlling that growth and making sure that we're doing what's in the best interest long-term for our membership in our county. Leadership development and career progression. One of the things we've recognized is our executive succession, and growth throughout the ranks is something that we need to focus more on. So increasing our external training and allowing for that to be something where we're not just stuck within our own fishbowl, so to speak. And we're learning from the outside. Enhancing community risk reduction and education through increasing our number of prevention inspectors to be able to provide better community interaction, whether that's through fire extinguisher training, CPR classes, a lot of the things that the community members have asked us for to add to our repertoire. And then collaborative partnership and regional support. So working with our neighbors a little bit more. What we find is that we're still a small agency and they are still small agencies, and yet we still have significant call growth for all of us. And we're interacting regularly, much like we do with the Regional Fire Academy, and making sure that we're actively participating with our neighbors. So when we do have to work together in emergent situations, we are ready to do so and we know what to expect from each other. That led to the development of what we're looking at over the next couple of years. And we know that the numbers will shift as budget shift and revenue shift and personnel come and go. But the biggest operational pieces are looking at the apparatus replacement. One of the first ones on there is already funded, which is the replacement of a Type 1 engine for Station 75 or 71. The challenge, as I've addressed the commissioners before, is that it's about 48 months from date of purchase. So that one will be here sometime. 2028 right now is the expected arrival. And then some of the other things is equipping the new Pierce truck that Switch was able to purchase for us, which is incredible to know that they fronted $2.5 million and bought a new truck for us. That didn't come with anything on it, so it's basically a floor model. So we need to fund to actually equip that piece of apparatus when it shows up, because we'd like to keep the other one as a fully staffed or stocked reserve apparatus. That way we know when something goes down, we have a replacement. As was mentioned at the Academy graduation, we have two of the only working trucks in the Quad County, which is kind of a nice thing to say. And then we'll have something with the new one coming in that is the tip of the spear as far as apparatus go, as long as we're able to put equipment on that. Then with that, some of the prices, augmentation for the line items that are already in place for the two Type 3 trucks, the two Wildland engines that are coming for Station 71 and Station 75. The original budgeted numbers didn't include, again, putting any equipment on those vehicles. And one of the things we're trying to work on is actually putting modern equipment on instead of some of the, we'll call it a little outdated equipment. So we're maintaining our operations at the highest level that the community expects from us. Prevention vehicles, we've been hodgepodging a lot, and they're all in different eras of vehicles, and some of them are past the ability to maintain current NFPA standards for response as well for them, and trying to get them a little more uniform, so a replacement of those as well as part of that process. We have submitted to add a training officer in the coming year. And that would be a new position for us, which would help with that career progression and development piece, as well as maintaining that interoperability with our neighbors. And subsequently, that leads to a vehicle replacement. What I'm looking at ideally is putting them in my truck, which fits more appropriately. It's a larger truck, and they're going to be moving a lot of equipment and bringing stuff around for training, and then replacing and getting myself into something more size appropriate for what I actually do. I'm not hauling a lot of equipment around the districts and helping out in the community that way. One of the things that we routinely have to budget for, as the majority of our calls are still EMS related, is about every 2 years we would like to do an ambulance replacement and add an ambulance to our fleet to make sure that we're maintaining frontline equipment that is In the event of an emergency, we're not worried about it mechanically having hundreds of thousands of miles on it and not being able to make it. So routine replacement of an ambulance is significant. As you're aware, we brought on a mechanic to take the load of some of our fleet maintenance, and still outfitting shop tools for the mechanic as well is a big capital piece. One that's kind of fluid on here, and it got moved from the previous administration, and that's refurbishment of a water tender for Station 73. That's something I'd still like to work on, as it is the only one that is kind of a hodgepodge tender. It was a cabin chassis that at one point I believe was a NDOT snowplow, and we put a tank on it and not an appropriately sized pump for fire suppression. So we'd like to get that one modified. Dozer tender, for those who don't know what that is, a dozer tender is basically a chase support vehicle that goes out when we send out our heavy equipment on wildland fires, whether it's within district or outside, and that has the compressors and welder and fuel tanks and such to support the heavy equipment when it's out there. As we had received a second or third, I guess, dozer from the state this year, we realized we only have one dozer tender. So that doesn't allow us to either, if we have a rig sent out, we don't have the ability to support that unit that's back within our jurisdiction. And then the next piece there, the last equipment related piece, is a new dozer 71, at which point we would surplus one of the ones that we currently have, because we have some equipment that it's actually hard to get parts for anymore. And the operability of it, the Wildland Fuels Division has determined that the type of dozer we need, we have a very fixed blade system. And on wildland fires, it's much more important to have a 6-way blade and then a grapple for pulling trees and dragging them off the fire line and doing things like that. And that's not something that our current system is capable of. The last piece, I guess the next piece there, in information technology, one of the things that we're recognizing from a habitability standpoint for our firefighters is our station paging system. And if you can picture for any of us that have had their smoke detectors go off in the middle of the night for an unknown reason, our personnel deal with that multiple times throughout the night. And you go from a sound sleep heart rate of 50, hopefully, depending on your health, to about 160. And it increases the likelihood of cardiac-related events. So the alerting system would be able to go into all 4 stations, and it's not slower, but it's calmer, which is one of the things that is significant for the health of our fire service members. So it has a little band that creates a tapping, and the red lights come on, and you don't have the loud voice. We love our comms folks, but at 2 o'clock in the morning from a sound sleep, sometimes their voice is a little jarring, to say the least. And then the other pieces, the last couple are, we recognize that when we started the funding for the Station 71 project, even with the grant, that 5 years ago, the cost was different than what it is now. And it's adding additional funding to support that project, as we know it's going to require more funding than we had originally put in place. As well as FF&E, so furniture, fixtures, equipment for that project to increase and allow that to occur. That's the total of the operational equipment pieces. And then there are some staffing pieces. In the last year, the board had approved to add 3 overhire positions, which brought our staffing up to where we could more appropriately staff some of our smaller stations, which were operating with only 2 personnel. What I would like to do is convert those from overhire positions to full-time staff employees. That way they also are not worried about the security of their positions. Along with that, add 3 more firefighter medic positions to our staffing, which would give us 6 personnel operating out of the park. What we find routinely out in the industrial complex is that if the ambulance is gone, which it frequently is, there are 4 people covering the multi-billion-dollar industrial complex. And that is woefully insufficient in the event of real emergencies out in the park. And knowing our mutual aid as well is so far away, it creates some additional challenges for us. And we'd like to augment that, and again, in a controlled fashion that maintains within our capabilities of our budget. The training officer, training captain position is in there as well, and adding an additional fire inspector, and all those hopefully within this upcoming fiscal year if the budget supports that. If you'd like, I can continue into the future years, but right now I'm mostly concerned about 26, 27.
Thank you. Fire Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Fire Commissioner Mitchell?
I have just a couple. Chief, the apparatus that we're getting from Switch, is that comparable to the Quint truck that we have right now? Is it something different? And if so, kind of what's the trajectory on the Quint truck?
It is the same, but a much more modern version. The NFPA standard is 15 years frontline, 10 years reserve status. That one is already right at the crux of being frontline and needs to move to reserve status. The new one meets every current NFPA standard and would be the frontline apparatus, and it is also a Quint, but based on its modern capabilities, it is much more enhanced than our current one and easier to operate. Has an appropriately sized powertrain, which was one of the biggest struggles that we have with that one. We bought it from the Flatlanders back out in Middle America, and it doesn't have the horsepower to adequately move around in the complex, which makes it challenging for our personnel because sometimes they can't get there the way that would be the most expedient route.
Got it, thank you. Wondering where kind of the new Station 75 fits in the plan, and I wasn't able to identify kind of where the movement is there, where the money is, what we got in this year, current years, so on and so forth.
The Station 75 Italy, we're trying to maintain some communications pieces with Station 75 Italy versus Station 75 Peru. Station 75 Italy is ongoing. That one was already funded in capital prior to my moving into administration. That one is at a point where it's going out for bid here for a contractor. Hopefully the plans will be done, and that should be heading out in about March. We'll be seeking a contractor to start that project.
Perfect, thank you. I don't know if there was a backside to the sheet. I noticed a line item for replacing bays and quarters at 72 at about $4 million. Could you talk on that just a little bit? I think there were just a few extra things on the capital stuff.
Right. So 72 and 74 are long-term projects. We recognize that right now, one of our biggest challenges with adding personnel is in some cases we're out of bedrooms. And as much as bunk beds might be fun, I don't know that that's a good proactive approach for us. At 72, right now, the station itself has no quarters. We have the house, and the house is limited right now to 2 bedrooms. So part of that long-term is the ability to fund to replace that structure, whether on that property or at a different location. That's one of the things that we're working on. But knowing that the cost of that is something that we're going to have to be proactive about funding, and that's the start of funding over hopefully 2 years, and then starting that project.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have concerns about the funding, a little more just capacity with all the projects, right?
Right.
And how we're going to manage those, so.
Well, in 74 and 72, we're looking at as those are not large stations, but they're appropriately sized long-term for them to be 6 personnel stations, 5 bay, 2-story. The discussion for 72 is would a barn dominium style station be a really good option and fit well within the infrastructure that already exists within the Highlands community. That would provide some other opportunities for us to take the house and turn that into our wildland division, because they don't need the bedrooms, but they need offices, they need space to operate from their position. So it would give us some options to not have to change things out entirely, but to be able to shift some things around a little bit, which would be good. It's an ongoing process and trying to figure out what that looks like as far as properties, et cetera.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
All right, great questions, Vice Chairman. I don't have any questions at this time. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are you good right now?
Not at this point.
All right, is there any public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion at this time?
I am. I actually have just one more question I was holding back because it's in a later year. Station 74, are we looking at relocation or flood issues? I know we're a couple years out on that, but can you just give kind of a 30,000-foot view of what we're looking at there?
We are, absolutely. I've been speaking with the county manager about the concept of having to move that, right? As well as speaking with Kathy about it being, it's double negative because it's in the floodplain and in the flood path. So securing a different property, whether that's a county property or a private party sale, to move the station location. One of the challenges is limited access throughout the Rainbow Bend area and the Lockwood community. And fire engines and speed bumps don't love each other. It's not really great to take a 50,000+ pound apparatus with critical equipment and have it bounce around on speed bumps. So it's also working with the school district, and Kathy has brought up some ideas about different speed control measures, because some of them out there are for the school and for the community to make sure people aren't moving through too fast. But we need to maintain quick access, so depending on where we would place the station, it would impede our ability to get out onto the highway and get to our other districts in an expedient manner, and help our mutual aid partners as well with our I-80 agreement to get to different areas of Mustang and throughout the complex area.
Perfect. Thank you. Now I can make a motion if you.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're ready, I'm ready.
Yeah, I, Fire Commissioner Mitchell, move to direct the fire chief to adopt and move forward with the SCFPD 2026 through 2031 capital and staffing improvement plan.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
On to item number 20 is to recess to reconvene as Story County Board of County Commissioners. Bringing us to item number 21, which is discussion only. This state of the Sheriff's Office briefing.
Morning, Commissioners. As you've seen in the past couple of years, I prefer to do a little briefing at the beginning of each year regarding the Sheriff's Office. This year, I'm going to discuss some of our stats from 2025, the K-9 program, Citizens Academy that we did, some significant cases that we were involved in, some of our grants and donations, some of our overtime numbers, response times, and our calls for service percentages from 24 to 25. Sheriff's Office saw an increase in proactive activity compared to 2024 last year. Deputies were proactive patrolling neighborhoods, businesses, and roadways. Calls for service, traffic stops, and arrests saw increases. When examining traffic stops to citations, the Sheriff's Office had a 37% citation rate, leaving the remaining 63% as education-based stops. Basically warnings, getting folks to slow down or stop what they were doing. With the education-based stops, a decrease in repeat offenders was also observed, supporting the basis of education versus citation as an effective roadway safety strategy. One fatality crash did occur, potentially due to a medical issue with one of the drivers. That was on Story County roadways in 2025. However, those numbers are significantly decreased from previous years. Going over some of the stats from 2025, total incidents, 27,673 incidents, 8,617 calls for service, 19,056 deputy-initiated incidents. Traffic stops were at 10,436, and business and building checks were 3,585. Deputy cases were 1,640. Animal calls, dogs, cats, things like that, 34 of those. We had 25 coroner cases. We had 18 mental health cases, and then 146 traffic crashes. Misdemeanors and felony arrests. The total together was 701. Misdemeanors and gross misdemeanor arrests, 556, with 551 being adults and 5 juvenile arrests. Felony arrests were at 145 adults. No juveniles were arrested for felonies last year. One of the comments I had with some of the folks here in the county was that about 90% of our incidents are generated out at the USA Parkway area, just for reference to that. Moving on to the K-9 program a little bit here. The Story County Sheriff's Office fully launched its K-9 program in May of 2025. That was to strengthen narcotics enforcement and enhance public safety throughout the county. Since implementation, the program has delivered measurable results and proven to be an effective force multiplier for deputies. We had a significant arrest yesterday here in Virginia City of a tourist that had a significant amount of methamphetamine on him, just as a side note. From May of 2025 to present, the Sheriff's Office documented 110 drug-related cases, resulting in 90 arrests. Of these, 87 cases occurred following the start of the K-9 program, demonstrating the program's direct impact on drug detection and enforcement. Our efforts there. In comparison, in 2023, the Sheriff's Office documented 23 drug-related cases, and in 2024, 42 drug-related cases. The increase, however, is not due to more drugs being present now. It's just due to the fact that the Sheriff's Office has the tools and training to combat the longstanding problem we've had, not just in Story County, but nationwide as well. So, the K-9 program has played a critical role in protecting residential communities. 37 drug-related cases occurred in or near residential areas, leading to 35 arrests. These actions have directly contributed to reducing the presence of illegal narcotics in neighborhoods and improving overall community safety in and around our communities here in Story County. Last year, we held our first Citizens Academy, April through May 2025. We had 8 participants. The feedback was great, so we'll be doing another one here in 2026. And we've already got quite a few people that have signed up for that. And if anyone's interested from the county, they're more than welcome to sit in on the entire academy, or hit different ones as they are interested in certain things. Without getting too deeply into these cases, I was going to just mention a few of the cases that were some of the stuff we've dealt with over the last year. We had a residential burglary here in Virginia City, in which a person had passed away, and then people went into his home and stole things afterwards. The detectives quickly identified the suspects and were able to recover a stolen vehicle and 4-wheeler vehicle that was taken. We had a fraud in the Highlands. Detectives identified multiple suspects, resulting in 2 suspects captured, where our detectives went to Florida and extradited both of these suspects. This one was significant in the fact that most of these internet-style text message fraud cases are almost unsolvable. However, these suspects decided to come to Story County physically and obtain money, which was a big mistake on their part. Last year, we had an incident here right outside at the corner of B and Union, where we had an intoxicated suspect fire several shots allegedly into his family's vehicle. Deputies were quickly on scene and were able to subdue that subject and get him into custody quickly. Out at the Tri, we had stabbings within 2 weeks. We had 3 people stabbed within 2 weeks of each other, different incidents altogether. However, the escalation in violence out there has been seen because of the number of people that we're dealing with. So that was interesting. However, deputies were on scene fairly quickly and were able to bring people into custody fairly quickly. We had a human smuggling arrest regarding warrants out of Texas that was also out of the park. And that suspect was taken into custody pretty quickly once he was identified. We've dealt with several residential drug arrests and where we've served warrants on known drug houses in the last couple of years. Last year we did a couple out there in Lockwood, and we were able to bring people into custody over those. So those are, sadly, there's drugs still out there, but we're starting to slowly get a handle on that. And then we had last year also, we had a subject down here in Virginia City drive over the top of a child on a dirt bike. And I should say child, teenager, better term. We did serve a warrant on that subject and brought him into custody. So just kind of an odd case that was interesting that we had to deal with. That warrant was served just recently, though, but out of a case from last year. We had 2 gentlemen this last year that decided to drive about 200 pounds of marijuana down C Street. in garbage bags, and the deputies could not only smell it, but they were speeding at the time. That one's significant. I thought I'd bring that up because they were doing a public service, according to them, by taking the marijuana to Dayton to sell to folks that couldn't afford marijuana. So that was interesting. In 2025, we received several grants and donations from the community and different programs. Our Sheriff's Off-Highway Operations team received a $55,000 grant to purchase a new Chevrolet 3/4 ton truck to haul the equipment that we had gotten in previous grant rounds. And we've already been using that a little bit. We had their K-9 JAG assistance grant, which funded the K-9 program. That one was at $42,293. Our STEER, Safe Traffic Education Enforcement Response Joining Forces grant, brought us in $45,193, and that money is used to pay overtime for deputies. And I'll get into some overtime numbers here in just a minute. We had a search and rescue donation from Edge Corps for $30,000 to purchase a vehicle for our search and rescue operations, as well as a $30,000 donation from the Gilman family for motor units that should be in operation here fairly quickly. Some of our overtime numbers. And I think this is interesting to note that with the increase in activity, the overtime numbers have gone up. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. In 2024, we had 3,483 hours of overtime. In 2025, that number is at 5,435. So the numbers are going up with just the more activity that we're facing. These numbers also include our OTS grant, the traffic grant money that we're paying for that, or the projects we're doing with that. So they're in there as well, but the numbers are increasing. Basically, more arrests is equaling more overtime. We've seen a small trend in non-priority calls increasing in response times. However, on the good side, we've seen a steady trend of response times decreasing over the last 3 years. From an average in 2023 of 11 minutes, 9 seconds to 2024 of 9 minutes, 22 seconds. And then in 2025, our average response on priority 1 calls, emergencies, was 8 minutes, 29 seconds. We're still working on getting those down. One of the things that we've been able to do is drop that number from well above the original 1109 for prior years. Just another number here from 24 to 25. These are all increase in numbers. Basically, total incidents have increased 22%, calls for service 12%, and I'm rounding these to the nearest here. Deputy-initiated incidents are 28% increase, traffic stops 50% increase, and business and building checks at a 14% increase. We've seen an increase in misdemeanor arrests at 22% and felony arrests at 51%. That's basically it, and I'm going to answer any questions if you all have some questions for me as well. I think what we've been seeing is we've been seeing a trend. We've been seeing a population growth out at the tribe, but the trend is that the incidents are increasing, whether that's a stranded motorist, a crash, a fight, you name it. Everything's increasing just based on the numbers that we're seeing here in the county. And that's pretty much my report for 2025, unless you guys have any questions for me.
All right, Sheriff, thank you very much for a wealth of information. There's a lot of good news in there. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments for the Sheriff?
None, thank you, Sheriff.
Vice Chairman?
No, my only question, you already answered, had to do with kind of the balance of what's going on in the park and the growth and here. So appreciate the report. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any questions for you, Sheriff. Good news, though.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. I'm always available if you have something comes up. Thank you.
All right, thank you again. Moving on to item number 22, this is discussion for possible action, consideration of possible approval directing the comptroller to notify the Nevada Department of Taxation of the property tax rate the Story County Board of County Commissioners proposed to levy for fiscal year 26 through 27.
Good morning, Jennifer McCain for the record. This is basically a housekeeping issue. We need to let the Department of Taxation know if we plan on changing our tax rate or not. I have provided you with 2 letters and 2 options in the motion. I've heard no word of changing the tax rate, but it's not that it's not available for you to choose. Currently, our tax rate is 3.4607, and distributed across many funds. So if you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Jennifer. Commissioner Gilman, any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I'm good leaving it for now.
Okay. I don't have any questions for you. Tempted to make a joke about raising the taxes, but I will not. Is there any public comment? You prepared to make a motion, Vice Chairman?
I am. Thankfully, Mr. Chairman, I think that the state law does not allow you to raise the taxes on us, so I think we're capped. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to approve the comptroller to inform the Nevada Department of Taxation that the Story County Board of Commissioners proposed to levy a property tax rate of 3.4607 in fiscal year 2026-2027.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Thank you, Jennifer. On to item number 23, discussion for possible action, consideration and possible approval of the resolution number 25-810, reconveyance of ownership of approximately 427 linear feet by 3 feet in width of Peru Drive right-of-way. Kathy, I will let you take it away.
Thank you. So good morning, Kathy Canfield for the record. We have received a request from a property owner to essentially abandon a small strip of land that will allow them to build a fence. This is called a reconveyance because of the way that Story County acquired the property. It was through a parcel, so it's different than how we would do a normal abandonment process. We've done a couple of these in the Tri-Center previously, one by the entrance to Tesla, and then another one near Electric Avenue in Milan, where there was some 200-foot right-of-way and extra. In this situation, this is along Peru Drive, kind of north of, or south of Denmark area. And staff had a little bit more heartache with this one than we do with some of the others, just because Peru Drive is such a busy corridor for utilities. However, we also want to try and work with our partners out at the Tri-Center. And this situation developed in that they have a retaining wall that's right at the property line. When it first started out and the first development plans were occurring, everything worked. It's just as construction was occurring, things kept inching a little bit differently and things had to change during construction that we got to this point of the retaining wall itself is built right at the property line and it doesn't allow for a fence at the top. The fence is needed by the applicant for security reasons. The county would like a fence there because it drops off and it's at least a 20-foot drop down. So for safety reasons, the county does desire some type of fence there. So we've been working with the applicant on what could we realistically come up with an agreement. You know, they came up with a little bit bigger area, we came back with smaller, and this is kind of where we landed, that we could get away with a 3-foot strip of land at the top of this retaining wall for the length between their two northern parking or driveway areas. We talked to AT&T, we've talked to NV Energy, we talked to representatives from Tri-GID, just making sure there wasn't anything in this right-of-way. Everybody, again, has heartache over losing some of the right-of-way in there because it's so tight. We're also looking at, one of the concerns we have is the drainage along Peru has gotten beat up over the years. And we're still working with Story County's still working with our engineering consultant to try to figure out what kind of sizing and what do we need for drainage along these areas. The applicant has put in some drainage channel through there, but we don't know if that's the correct sizing for everything else that's coming down that route. But we believe with what we have left, we believe that we can do this 3-foot strip of land, and that'll allow for the fencing, which is also very much a safety concern to work. So I believe the applicant is here, and I'm happy to answer any other questions. The way this, to be able to approve this, the county needs to have the findings that that this is in the best interest of the county to do that. Those findings aren't set out separately, they're part of the resolution. So that would be, if you so choose, the resolution would identify what those findings and stuff would be.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments at this time before I call up the owner?
Not at this time, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Kathy, so as you mentioned, the retaining wall is right about on the lot line, and so is that, is it that basically the start of the 3 feet, if you will? The fence would be pretty close or adjacent to the retaining wall?
Correct, yeah. We, because we're working this on and we're wanting to get this going, the applicant will still need to submit to us a survey, and they will survey out exactly where that goes. We do have a survey that was submitted earlier, but it was a configuration that we weren't comfortable doing. So they'll be redoing that survey, and we'll have an exact legal description. That's portion of why 2 of the elements that are associated with doing this process aren't included, because they still need to do some work. But we didn't want them to go ahead and spend that money if we had concerns still about doing this.
Great, thank you.
All right. Does the applicant want to come up and say anything?
Good morning, Commissioner. Stephanie Sharp, counsel for the applicant. Just wanted to express my appreciation to staff to working with us to get to where we are today, and to tell you that I have a representative of the applicant here who can answer any further questions that you gentlemen have if you so desire. But I just want to thank you for your support.
Thank you. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Gilman, one more time, do you have any questions or comments?
Will we see something before we approve this, or is it going to your office, the new alignment of this fence that you're talking about?
Do you
They
mean
applied with something that you didn't like, they're going to come back to you with that?
They're going to come back with a survey map that matches the description of what we'd agreed to.
Thank you.
Typically, we wouldn't have that come back, but the chairman does sign those maps, so the chairman would see it. Right prior to the recording.
Vice Chairman?
And as I understand it, we've done something similar a couple of times out there.
We have. There were different circumstances than this, but yes.
All right, is there any public comment on this item? All right, not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. In accordance with the recommendation by staff, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to adopt Resolution 25-810, reconveyance of ownership of approximately 427 linear feet by 3 feet in width of Peru Drive right-of-way, exact linear length to be determined by survey. The strip of land is located on the east side of Peru Drive between 2 existing driveways associated with 3399 Peru Drive, APN 005-061-08. The property is located within the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, McCarran, Story County, Nevada. The request includes adopting resolution number 25-810, a written offer of reconveyance and a deed of reconveyance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Kathy. On to item number 24. This is consideration and possible action on the business impact statement for a change to the Story County Code 5.10.050, Section C, cannabis establishment licensing to reduce the requirement for cannabis licensee to remit a fee equal to 3% of gross revenue to 0%, and for the county manager to sign a business impact statement. Laura.
Thank you, Laura Mather, for the record. So as part of the process of making any adjustment to an ordinance that would affect a business, whether it's negative or positive, like reducing fees, a business impact statement is required. If the board approves this statement and the county manager signs it, then I will send it out by certified mail to identified possible affected organizations. It will also be posted on our website and available at the clerk treasurer's office. This also states when second reading of the ordinance will be, giving anyone an opportunity to speak at that public meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions on that impact statement if you'd like.
All right, thank you, Laura. Commissioner Gilman, any questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I have just one, and it's more procedural. In the recommended motion, the motion is to move to continue consideration. In our world, continue typically means to put off until a further meeting. Is the intent here to move forward, or is it to continue this item to a future meeting?
So my understanding is it would be continued consideration rather than approval, because procedurally, the board is not yet in a position to take final action.
Okay. Okay. Maybe a question for Brian, if I just change that wording to something like move forward with as opposed to continue, so there's no ambiguity that we are continuing to move forward and not putting off the item to a future time.
That would be an appropriate amendment to the motion, if you want to make that.
Thank you.
All right, is there any public comment on this item? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, are you prepared to make a motion at this point?
I am. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to move forward with consideration of the business impact statement for a change to Story County Code 5.10.050, Section C, cannabis establishment licensing, to reduce the requirement for cannabis licensee to remit a fee equal to 3% of gross revenue to 0%, and for the county manager to sign said business impact statement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 25, discussion for possible action, consideration and possible action on first reading of bill number 148, ordinance 26-336 to change Story County Code 5.10.050, Section C, cannabis establishment licensing, to reduce the requirement for cannabis licensees to remit fee equal to 3% of gross revenue to 0%. Laura Mather?
Thank you, Laura Mather, for the record. So NRS allows the county to charge up to 3% for the gross revenue. However, they do not limit the amount, the lower amount. And as part of our process of reducing fees for businesses countywide, staff is recommending that we reduce the 3% down to 0% for gross revenue.
All right, thank you, Laura. Commissioner Gilman?
Nothing, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
If I remember correctly, and I think it was in the report, the initial projections were significantly more than what was actually being collected by this.
That's correct, Laura Mather, for the record. So it was estimated that that amount would be in the $500,000 range. It's about $80,000, so significantly less than what was originally projected.
Understood, thank you.
I don't have any comments, or I do have comments, I just don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you and staff for going through this on a broader scale, not just this particular item, but thank you for the effort. Is there any public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to adopt the first reading of bill number 148, ordinance 26-336, to change Story County Code 5.10.050, Section C, cannabis establishment licensing, to reduce the requirement for cannabis licensees to remit a fee equal to 3% of gross revenue to 0%.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you again, Laura. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Moving on to item number 26, this discussion for possible action. Appoint an at-large member on the Story County Board of Equalization for a 4-year term running from 2026 to 2030. Clerk Treasurer Hindle.
Let me out of my cage here.
Yeah.
Jim Hindle, Story County Clerk and Treasurer. We have had a vacancy, or have a vacancy, on the Board of Equalization, as the term expired for Marshall McBride, and he decided not to re-up or put his name in for appointment again. In coordination with Human Resources, we went out and posted the opening for interested individuals to submit their applications. That posting closed last Friday, the 29th of January, and we had one application from Greg Bumhess, and that is the only one we received, and we recommend him to be appointed to the board. He is familiar with the board's activities from his time on the Board of Commissioners, and so it would be a very good addition.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
Good.
Okay, how about public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
I am. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to appoint Greg Bum-Hess as an at-large member of the Story County Board of Equalization for a 4-year term running from 2026 through 2030.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you to Bum for stepping up. I'm sorry, need to take just a quick 10-minute break before we jump on item number 27. We'll see you all back here right before 12.
Remember that YouTube is still recording?
Yep.
Elevator music?
Yep.
Yeah. Excuse me. All right, that doesn't look like a 6, let's make it 6. That still doesn't look like a 6.
Looks like an E.
Okay,
Close enough.
all right, thank you for that, putting it together.
Yeah.
gonna blame the delay on Donnie, but I was gonna say it's your fault.
Yeah, it is. My fault.
Needed to use the bathroom. Hey, did you notice I haven't had my Diet Coke yet?
No, you didn't open it. Oh, that's good.
9:30, we're going all the way till 12. It's a big change in my life.
Yeah, go with that.
Water.
If you want less,
Oh, I'm getting there, trust me.
okay, here we go.
Are we ready? Jim? Lisa? Jim? Anybody? Hello?
You want me to go get them?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. He's not used to 10 minutes being actually 10 minutes.
Well, it was like 13. We need a shot caller for Jared. Is that on record? Oh, perfect timing. No pressure, but I'm probably going to get lunch after this.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're at closed session.
Yep.
And then I do have a meeting scheduled. Actually, it's not me,
Okay.
Under the ballistic.
Yeah.
Just kidding, not really.
Thanks, I needed that.
I thought about doing a joke.
Yeah. I just wondered how loud it was on that.
I didn't want to push my luck. Please. All right, folks, we're going to get started. Sorry for the delay. Jim, you let me know when we're good, please. All right, thank you very much. It is 12:01. We're going to reconvene the meeting. Apologize for the little bit of a delay. We are moving right along to item number 27, which is discussion for possible action. Update, discussion, and further direction to county staff. Per the request of Commissioner Carmona regarding the development of the request for qualifications for the operation, management, and restoration of Piper's Opera House. Austin, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off if you don't mind. I had asked that we put this on the agenda. I know that we're on a path moving towards the RFQ for Piper's Opera House. In that time, I have changed my views, and I would like us to reconsider taking the request for qualifications off the table at this point. As we all know, county staff is growing by the day. We are running out of space, and I'm not suggesting Piper's is the space, but that just brings up an issue to mind. I was recently at an event at Piper's Opera House about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I'm not sure why it hit me like a ton of bricks, but that is pretty much the only place in town left for us to collect and gather as a community. If we do have town halls, you know, we do have some places available like the high school, but it's not really conducive to events if we need to hold anything. And it's sort of the last building, if you will, where there's substantial space for us to hold events. So what I'd like to do is, at least for the meantime, pull that RFQ off the table. And if we can find a way, hopefully, to maybe, I don't know how we would run it, whether the county would take over operations or the BCTC would continue. But I do feel it's important that the county hang on to that building and not necessarily look for a nonprofit to take over ownership of that building. So that's why I brought it to the table. You know, I'm obviously happy to answer any questions. I know Austin's up there too, if any of my commissioners have questions about this decision. But at the moment, I think it would be better to leave it in county hands rather than look for a nonprofit I do believe pickings are slim as far as nonprofits go, but you never know. There could be somebody out there, but that's my desire at this time. And hopefully I have some support on that. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
Can we have our own county bar there on that?
I'm just thinking of the meeting area. We could probably do one upstairs if you want. Yep. I need to start drinking, but, you know. Any other questions?
No, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I understand the vision that you have. Makes sense. How we iron it out, how we take care of it, upkeep on the building, things like that. I know there's some challenges there, so I'd love to see what that looks like and what it would take the county to get that up to par, especially on the health side of things, if we're going to be holding events there with food and other things. Other than that, I'm happy to look at that.
Great, thank you. Just a little tidbit, I did a little bit of research and found out that Eureka County actually has an opera house that the county does run and maintain, and they seem to do it pretty successfully. So that was encouraging. Vice Chairman, you have any questions or comments at this time?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, I'm certainly open to looking at approaching it differently. I've thought a lot about Pipers and what's going on there, and for me, I think there are two different chunks or focus areas that I think we were trying to put all into the one RFP, but maybe as an alternative, we look at them separately. And the one chunk is the preservation of the structure and preservation of it as a meeting place. I would kind of group that in there. And then the second one is kind of the art, drama, theatrical arts component of it. And you know, I'm wondering if there's value in maybe looking at rescoping the RFQ to where it focuses specifically on that second piece, so that we're not asking a nonprofit to come in and basically restore the building, manage it completely, but maybe we have an agreement where we're splitting the responsibilities between the county under whatever structure makes sense, and then have an arts-focused 501 that's really tasked with just rocking it out, getting grants that are related to performance art from that perspective, but not necessarily taking full ownership, if you will, of the building. In other words, and one of the other reasons that that's been on my mind is because we've got kind of a changing landscape as far as other potential meeting locations. You know, we're gonna have to replace the pool. One direction that could go is a broader rec center of some kind, which would potentially provide another meeting facility in town. We've got school buildings that new school buildings are being built, and there's been discussion about acquiring them, using them, certainly some for office space, but also potentially for meeting space, or moving senior and community services over onto one of those, which opens up another space there. Anyway, longer term, I think we will have space, and I'm concerned that if we don't do anything with moving forward with getting some broader help and stability with Pipers, that we're maybe not doing what we should there. So, but I would also maybe like to hear from the VCTC and see what their thoughts are around involvement. If they think that they have an interest in, are capable of taking on the production of dramatic arts and what have you, and that piece of it, or if that's outside their wheelhouse and best left to a separate group. Because I think that's one of our guiding principles with the place is we want it to be a vibrant place that's used for its intended purpose, in addition to the other things that it provides for the community.
Yeah, great points. I mean, and to clarify, you know, my intention was that we are able to still hold concerts there. You know, I know there's a lot of plays that are put on. I guess my hesitation with the RFQ as it sat was that somebody was going to come in and rightfully so, we would apply pressure that they don't allow that building to just go derelict. I definitely don't want that to happen either, whether the BCTC continues to run events through there. But at that point, I think if, you know, for example, we had a nonprofit in there that was trying to make the most of it, we're gonna handicap them in a sense because there still needs to be school access, county access. So just to clarify, my plan was not to just let it sit there and use it for meetings, but, you know, there's been a lot of comedy shows, there's been concerts. I would still love to see that aspect. I just feel if the county has control of it, then it's a little bit better as far as availability for us, and there's maybe less pressure. So I believe we're pretty much on the same page for the most part. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, and I would just say, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into. I think it's still an underutilized facility, is what I'm saying, and there's a lot of work that goes into planning and producing all of those kind of events, and so that is either something we would need to look at making sure we have the capacity internally, or making some sort of deal so that we have it outward. I think I'm a little less concerned about the balance of availability for county uses. I think that's something that can be written into a contract that preserves the needs that we have, which I think are fairly well defined, and I don't think there's a ton of conflict for during the week meetings and some of that kind of, you know, town halls and those kind of things. But anyway, that's, yeah, those are my thoughts. The other one that, you know, I've been vocal about is that, you know, in an ideal world, we're moving towards getting out of the landlord business, and in some ways that would be a step back in regards to the bar space that's there.
All right. Commissioner Gilman, after that conversation, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
No, just I see the value in holding on to that building, and if we put the time and effort into it as a county and are managing it, you know, not having somebody in that building themselves, but using it as a profit center for the county to be able to allow people to use it for their events. And I understand we don't want to be in the landlord business, but it just makes sense that it would be another profit center for us, and something that we can then maintain, and we decide what direction that building's going to go, so that some other nonprofit doesn't come in there and try to add something to it or take away from its historic value. I just think probably there needs to be some more conversation, and maybe have staff look into how we would best utilize that building if we were to do something like this. Would make sense to me.
Thank you very much. Is there, you okay if I go to public comment, or you have something else?
May I just respond
Please,
real quickly?
please.
I want to provide just a little bit of context from some of my assignments, because I look at the numbers and things, and I don't, unfortunately, I don't think that the Opera House portion will ever be a profit center. We can mitigate the cost for sure, but there's also, just so my fellow commissioners are aware, there is a bit of friction that happens with private property owners when we really ramp up marketing efforts for that structure. Some of them see it as competing with other spaces, event spaces in town, and we're, as a government entity, we are not subject to the same economic reality that a private business is, because we have the ability to subsidize its operation and with public funds. And so that's another piece that I think we really need to look at if we're going to operate it, because I want to see it vibrant and successful, but we need to be sensitive in how we do that, because there is, and I have some ideas. I'm not saying don't do it. There's some sensitivity there as far as if the county is running it as an events facility.
Thank you. Is there any public comment at this time?
Hello, Leah Cruz, Events and Assistant Tourism Director, and my other hat is the manager of Piper's Opera House. I have very, very mixed feelings about how Piper's moves forward. Obviously, I love the building. Right now, we have excellent staff in there. We just don't have enough.
My sole focus is very much torn on the daily of what I'm supposed to be focused on and what needs to happen in terms of VCTC versus Piper's running, things like that. We don't want to see Piper's become just a stale museum where people just go in and get tours and whatever. We want it to continue to be a performing arts center. If VCTC continues to manage it, that's great. However, we need more staff. So there's those kind of things that come into play. We also really need to just know what we're doing. I've been with VCTC for 7 years now, and the last 2 has been really stressful and trying for us in our office because we get told one thing, this is not me saying everybody's doing it wrong. It's just it's confusing and hard for us and staff where we don't know what we're doing moving forward. We get told, we have this much in our budget and we need to make this much, but then we're told to pull back because we might be putting it out for RFQ for a new someone to take over the running of it. I think at this point, everyone on our staff will say, we need to know what we're doing instead of just slowly limping it along the way it has been. And I think Todd has a little bit more to add to that as well. So.
Thank you.
Todd Tuttle, Director of Tourism, just for the record, a couple of key points when you talk about a profit center. I completely agree with the comments that it's tough to make it a profit center, but when you look at the overall picture of Piper's and where it's connected to Story County and Virginia City, we have to take into account its uniqueness of the rest of the state. When you look at the Lear Theater down in Reno, which has some historic content to it, is a total disaster right now with the edge of possibly being lost forever, because of turning it over to people that tried their hardest to do something, but it never really came to a head or worked very well. You look at the town of Goldfield, who has some beautiful, unique buildings that are all collapsing under their feet, and therefore completely unusable, even if somebody comes in to try and restore them. Scotty's Castle over in the town of Austin, that is just about ready to fall apart, and again, a unique landmark to Nevada that should be all part of it. We are the custodians of a very unique part of Nevada and this particular town. And I think the idea of making it operational as a profit center might not be capable of being done, but at the same time, as a custodian, to keep that building where it is and working for the good of the public, being able to be used for those public meetings here in Virginia City, and being able to be accessible for the tourist industry that Virginia City relies on, is immense. When we take into the consideration and success of what's gone in Austin, and we look at that theater itself, that when the county did take it over and kept it restored, that's how it has become quite successful in its attractions and those bringing groups into Austin as one of the key points to happen to do along Highway 50. Same thing with Virginia City. If we pull it out of that and we reduce its ability to be used, I think is a big effect on it. On the other side is, as Leah had mentioned, this going back and forth, particularly over the last 3 years, we started a robust program to start bringing entertainers or events to be consistent in Virginia City and make that grow. We brought in For the Song. There was a couple of performances during the Christmas time period. But as we go back and forth about whether we could book or not book, it became kind of difficult to keep that ball rolling along the way. So we'd like to see some consistency in how it would be used, or given the opportunity to make it run consistently like it should under the county's guidance and direction. The third is just being able to keep Piper's itself as the entity that it's designed to be. Its upkeep, being able to keep it from falling down and making sure that it's available for the public and their experience here in Virginia City. So if I could throw one other side point, and that is, has already been mentioned, we don't want to compete with those people that are here in town that do have other wedding venues, that have things that are going on. We want to be able to be supplement to them, so if they have a big function that's going on, they know that they can come to this facility for the overflow or make use. If it's going to sell more room nights, that's what we're all for, is in support of making that happen. As a county, I think we're in the position to make that happen. So, thank you,
Todd. I do want to point out, so you mentioned the wedding aspect. Is that the only real issue with competition with the other venues?
There have been a few comments about events that have gone on where people have tried to go down to, like the Silverland or some of the other locations where they could be, and the price offering was different. And here up at Virginia, at the Opera House, it was what our regular rates were, but they felt it was a little bit lower than what they were getting at the Silverland. So there was a competition that was there, but most of it is on wedding venues. Part of making it successful is getting out there and promoting it. And if we're promoting Piper's Opera House as opposed to promoting all of Virginia City as a wedding venue, then we're in a little competitive nature that BCTC should not be in. That we're using the taxpayers' dollars effectively to promote and support them. And if we're just taking the business away, that's not the avenue that we want to be in. But we'd like it to be able to be part of that support.
Yeah. Point well taken. So in my mind, I didn't realize that Piper's and the Silverland, because I don't know too many other venues that can hold a large amount of people. Do you know what the max capacity is for the Silverland versus Piper's?
I do not know what the maximum capacity and seating capacity is there. Square footage wise, it's about half the space that Piper's Opera House is on the main floor, but it does not have the ceiling space or the external for decorations, et cetera.
Right.
So, but that would have to be a question directly to Silverland.
Okay, but the cost is definitely an issue.
Yes.
If we're at 1,000 and they're at 2,000, I can see the issues.
Yeah, we'd certainly like to make sure that we support those venues that are here in town.
Yeah.
And just as a sidebar to that, the only reason that the cost is significantly different is the lack of amenities that Piper's offers. We don't have very reliable Wi-Fi. We don't have a kitchen, a warming kitchen. We just have, you can come in with just heated trays or whatever. So there's just little things like that it doesn't make sense for Piper's to raise its rates at all at this point, unless we do some significant upgrades or whatever to those things that we offer to rental folks.
Right.
So.
Thank you. All right.
And Mr. Chairman, I've had some discussion with VCTC staff about if they can get clarity on what their mission in relation to the Opera House is, then we can launch some initiatives around promoting private events and weddings overall for all the spaces. Because yes, there's some crossover, but there's some uniqueness as well. And I think instead of looking at it as dividing up a pie into different slices, we just make the pie bigger. And that can all be done, but the first step, I think, is clarity on how much do we want to really ramp those efforts up, and then they can benefit the whole town with Piper's as part of that.
Right. Okay, yeah, points well taken. County Manager, do you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Austin Osborne, for
Thank you both.
For the record. Our team has been working with the VCTC and others on this, and first I really want to do is thank Todd and Leah and their team for running Piper's. They haven't had to in the last 5 years. And we've known that we've had that building in the operation under a little bit of an interim status until we were able to get a little bit of a grasp on this and see where we are with regard to the building restoration and rehabilitation, and then the operation half. And I think what we have here is kind of a need potentially at this point is if we were to keep it in the county's hands for the moment, it doesn't mean it's a permanent situation.
Right.
But what it could mean is that we begin some planning. As you've seen that we're doing a lot more now, we have some bandwidth and capacity that whether it's capital improvements or it's our ordinances and our fees and our legislative approaches, we're starting to plan things out, write them out, and start coming up with a little bit of analyses to come up with findings and recommendations on how we do stuff. And this might be an opportunity to do the same, is whether this stays in the county's hands with operating or restoration, or whether it goes to a 501 now or later, but maybe we put a plan together, and that means for everything that the three of you are discussing and that Todd and Leah brought up is how we're going to, if we're going to keep it this way, this is how we're going to manage the events. This is how we're going to handle those events to make sure they don't conflict with the community. Maybe there needs to be an annual rate analysis to see how do we, promote this use with it not being an unfair advantage to the community, and maybe some events don't occur there. I was told by Leah that this place can handle roughly 300 people. What kinds of, and standing room, what kind of events can you hold with that? You're talking about real concerts and shows and plays and things like that that maybe other businesses aren't suited for. And these are the type of uses that bring overnight stays that do complement our bars and our hotels that we're trying to promote in this community. So I think at this point, rather than a permanent solution, is to look at maybe directing staff to put a plan together. But at this time, I'm hearing kind of from the board that you want to keep it in county's hands for the moment. The question I would bring for that for a year or two is budgeting. We right now we're planning on budgeting to operate the Opera House with the VCTC as planned if nothing were to change. If we want to try to get out of that business and have operating a little bit more in a different role so the VCTC can focus on its objectives and its planning, that maybe we perhaps have an operator that works under the county, and that operator then operates it like an Opera House, and we work on the planning together, and we work on working with a VCTC and this board together to get that where it needs to be. Once we put a lot of that in place, it can create some permanency, but it would get the VCTC out of that role of operating Pipers and more into that role of marketing the entire community with Pipers included, rather than marketing Pipers exclusively. Allow our offices to put a plan together for operating, getting it running, and then also providing what you talked about as community workshops, kind of having a balance between day use, meaning we have some meeting space needs for the county, for community needs, for community town halls, and then sometimes things show up without plan. Hey, we want to have, the fire district wants to have a group that came up for Fire Safe Council and use the space and work with that kind of stuff, and then have that third piece of the pie for the major events. So kind of planning that pie chart and the budgeting overall for the operations part of this. I kind of would like to get some parameters from this board on what we should be budgeting for, because if we budget for both, then that could be quite costly and still put that VCTC into that role they're in. That's just the operating side. I'm happy to discuss the other side, but I want to give you a chance to mill on that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for that. And obviously not realizing the situation that the VCTC is put in, I was open to both, but it sounds like, the direction would be better that the county was to take that on and let the VCTC be free from that. And that way there isn't that conflict, which again, I wasn't really aware of, but I totally understand why it's there. So, any of you have any comments at this time?
No.
Vice Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple. I think, while there is one aspect of the VCTC is this potential conflict with some of the private venues, I don't necessarily think they're telling us that it's a burden to operate the Opera House. That I think they're fully capable of that given the resources to do so, budgetarily and human resources. What's really burdening them right now is uncertainty. And if we can get some clarity for them, I think they would be happy to be in, they would be happy to be out. Is that fair to say? Yeah. They're happy to be all in and run the thing. They're happy for us to take it over from them. They don't really care either way there. Yep. They just want to know what the plan is. Can I ask, I know, Austin, yes, whatever we decide is not necessarily permanent, but if we are committed to ramping up the activity there, which has been a little bit stagnant because of the uncertainty, that's going to take a commitment of resources in some way, shape, or form. And I think I'd really like us to get a plan that's maybe not permanent, but a little more than this is what we're going to do for now while we figure it out, because that's kind of where we've been as we've tried to do this RFQ process. Can I, Austin or Jay, can you remind me of what the compelling interests were that took us down the RFP route? What was it? What were we reacting to that said we'd like to get this under a nonprofit to manage it for us?
I personally recall a few different items. I think the idea was that the VCTC had its hands full. I think that was one of the big driving factors. There was an interest at the time of a local nonprofit potentially merging organizations and running Pipers. I think that definitely made it a little more enticing at the time, but I have always felt, whether it's true or not, that the VCTC, for lack of a better word, was struggling with pipers. One of the other issues was the availability of grants for some of the major repairs. And the thought process was that if there's a nonprofit, they have access to grants that the county doesn't have access to. And that way we could make some of those necessary repairs to the building. So the initial push, as far as I recall, was a nonprofit has access to more money to repair the building, and that the VCTC was, you know, maybe in limbo with pipers. Maybe I'm totally off with that, but I think the driving force was the money for repairs as far as getting a nonprofit in there.
Okay. Austin, what are your thoughts?
I do have a response to that, but I see Jennifer's come up, and I'd actually like to defer to you first, because you might have something different before I chime in, coming from the comptroller's perspective. Thank you.
Jennifer McCain for the record. I wanted to touch on what our chairman just brought up, is that the nonprofits have access to money that the county doesn't as a government. With that, I think as good stewards of that building, whether we keep it or we turn it over to a nonprofit, restoring that building has got to be in the forefront of what we're doing. Otherwise, if we just keep patching it together as we have been doing, it's not going to matter what kind of events we have there. People are not going to want to come if the floorboards are missing or the curtain doesn't work or the seats are uncomfortable or you name it. We don't have a kitchen. There's a lot of things that have to go on. That building is so big, and the magnitude of restoration that is required and the ongoing maintenance, it's going to deserve its own project manager or historic event, building event coordinator, whatever we choose to call that person. So, and I think that is something that while VCTC has done a really good job at keeping the events in there, that's not in their wheelhouse. And the county as a whole has a magnitude of a CIP magnitude that we can barely get traction on with the employees that we have. I am fully supported with pulling this whole building out of the VCTC only if A, we have a nonprofit that's doing the historic restoration, or we hire somebody that needs, that's their wheelhouse. They know how to run that. We're not spinning in mud. As well, having an event coordinator, a nonprofit, yes, like the Arts Council can do that for us, but there are also people out there who that's their job and would love to take on that beautiful building and get it moving. I don't necessarily agree that it can't be a moneymaker, but it's going to take a lot of work. And having the county stand behind the nonprofit doing that is one way to do it. Having control over it, as the chairman marked, that's probably more beneficial to what it sounds like everybody's wanting to do. But I guess my main thing coming up, the budget's here. So we either plan for worst case, which is not necessarily worst case in your guys' world, but it's money that needs to be put out and spent. If we don't spend it, no harm, no foul, but we have a plan. So that's what I'm looking for coming out of this meeting, is direct us to which direction do you want us to plan for, even if it's both.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, and as we get this input, it may be actually more appropriate for Sarah, but the assumption that a nonprofit would be able to access other funds for building restoration, has that assumption been proven, or in our work through trying to get an RFQ in place, has that assumption been busted to where for whatever reason, maybe it's a nonprofit that has another building and they feel like if we take this one on, we're going to be sunk or whatever. Again, looking at two different pieces, there's a restoration piece, there's the arts piece. Did that play out, or do we have better light and knowledge on that at this point?
So I think we as a county are eligible, sorry, Sarah starts for the record. So we as a county are eligible for most of the grants that those nonprofits would be applying for. With a nonprofit though, you have a whole fundraising arm. You can do capital campaigns, you can do private donations, you can do foundation giving, things like that, that the county can't do as a government entity. we could develop like a Friends of Pipers as a separate 501c3 that helps fundraise funds specifically for that building, so it's separate from the county. But as far as grants go, we're eligible for almost all of those grants that nonprofits are eligible for, if not more eligible, because we're a government, we have more rigorous systems in place and things like that.
Would the same be true if we were talking about more arts grants to support those activities? Or is that potentially a place where a nonprofit would have an advantage because they're an arts-oriented organization, whereas we're not?
I would have to take a look. We could take a look at the Nevada Arts Council and what grants they put out, but, so I could be wrong, so I'll have to look into it, but I think those grants that they put out, counties are eligible to apply for. That's the one that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't think that's just for private entities.
Yeah, thanks for taking me on the detour.
Jennifer McCain for the record. I think it's really important to note that the Eureka Opera House that was spoke of earlier, that was not restored with grants. That was restored by private donations of their mines within their county. So there is other avenues for us to get money.
Laura Mather for the record. So as the former director of a nonprofit, I feel like I have sort of a personal experience in this. And I don't think it's necessarily, the question is whether or not a nonprofit can get more funds or not, is could we find that very unique person that is willing to give up their entire life to do this? Meaning, as the director of a nonprofit, for me, that's all I thought about. Like, that was my sole goal in life. On the weekends, when my husband and I were out somewhere on the weekends, I was thinking, is that person somebody I might get a donation from? Is that organization, are they philanthropic and might make a donation? Oh, would that make a great fundraising event? So it is a lot of work and hard work. And, you know, we're lucky to have the directors of the nonprofits that we have. You know, again, my experiences with the Fourth Ward, that has had, so Nora is the fourth director that organization has ever had. Barbara Mackey was there for 15 years. So it's been a very well-run, well-meaning organization, but the county still supports that organization. So we still financially support our nonprofits. So I think we just need to remember that and keep that in mind, that whatever way the board directs us, it will take county funds. And again, it's a very unique person. That's why I was only the director of the Fourth Ward for 4 years. God love Nora, she's been there longer than I was. It's a lot of work, and it's difficult to find that really unique person that can dedicate so much hard work and time into raising the kind of funds that building would need. And again, you know, we do support our nonprofits significantly financially. So just something to think about.
Thank you.
Sorry, one other thing. Laura Mather for the record. Again, we are lucky to have the directors that we have that really care for their organizations. Austin Osborne, Sarah Sturtz, and I were I was online, the Lear Theater presentation, and that was a really good example of well-meaning people and the unfortunate outcome that 3 different nonprofits had for that building. It was really an eye-opener.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and Board. Austin Osborne for the record. There's some good points being made here too. I'm glad Laura brought up the Lear Theater presentation. It was almost 3 hours. Expecting to go down there on a Saturday and kind of hear a couple things that were interesting, and walked out of there with a completely different perspective on what can happen in a situation like this. I lived here in the late 90s and 2000s when Pipers was going through a transition. And there were some great meaning people that tried to do their best to try to get a grasp on that building. It's a lot, and it got away from them. There were some folks that put it together in a nonprofit before that period of time in the early 90s that I wasn't personally here to observe, but they were able, they really had it together and were able to get that building even to what you see today in the good sense. They did a great job. And since then, there's kind of been that question that this board has asked, where do we want to go, that nonprofit, or do we want to go with the a staffing, whether it's through the VCTC or another way. Then the Lear Theater presentation comes for 3 hours almost. The history of the building, where it's been, and like Laura suggested, some really great people trying to get a hold of that. And I kind of give it an analogy here. It's going to be a silly analogy, but imagine you got two cars. You know, you got a barn find that's been sitting for 40 years untouched. It's going to need an engine rebuild. It's going to need new paint. It's going to need a lot of work. But all the parts are there. Everything's intact. It's still the car it was when it was made. And then you get one that somebody has gone through and changed everything to something different and welded on it and modified it and whatever. Which would you rather restore? You want something that's fully intact. I have a new appreciation for the condition that Piper's is in because of that workshop. The building, as I call it, a barn find. It still has a lot of the original artifacts in it that we also have to figure out how to handle, that a nonprofit may not be ready to handle that. And these are artifacts like the original, I forget what you call it, but it's a curtain that goes down where the advertisements were to go down on C Street and buy bubble gum or Coca-Cola or whatever. It's to that level. There's files, there's documents, there's just everything you can imagine. This building still has that. And my appreciation for Piper's is this is a solid building. It's together, it's all there, it's intact. It needs about a foot deep restoration all the way through. That's going to be, if I'm understanding, $4 million, $3 million, something in that neighborhood. What's that? Come on up, Sarah.
So just on that, Sarah Sturts for the record, we have an amended historic structures report for that building. It was done in 2021, and those numbers put it at almost $2.3 million, but that was in 2021. So I would almost double that or triple that number now.
Thank you, Sarah. So we're talking about with that historic structures report, $6 million, maybe in that neighborhood. The Lear Theater was estimated, rough estimate, be close to $20 million. And the reason for that was not the restoration of the building, it was to repair all the damage that had occurred to it over the years with different 501c3s that got away from them. And they had removed walls to try to expand the theater and make it better. And then they ran out of money, and then the 501c3 vacated, and then it snowed in the building and flooded it. So the next 501 comes in and tries to fix the wall, and they run out of money, and now you have that. And then the next 501 comes in, they remove an annex that contained offices on the building, and they were unable to repair and replace the annex. Stuff like that. $20 million, maybe higher. I think I heard 26 million at one point, potentially to get that building online. We don't have that. We just got to get the building cleaned up, nice, running, and gradually repair and restore it and make it what it once was. And I don't think we're that far to the finish line on that. And whether it's the VCTC operating in the county repairs, or a 501c3 in the future does the restoration with the county, or the VCTC operating, whatever option we have here, I think we can accomplish that. I don't think it's completely out of the picture. And then still be able to have that local space for community. It's our only place to have community center kind of stuff. And then I'll just kind of end with this point, is I do agree with Commissioner Mitchell that there are some opportunities coming with the school buildings, with potential recreation centers and things like that may come to play. We are working on that. There's, about a 5-year potential plan on something like that. And I think that those things should be folded into the Piper's Opera House long-term plan on how do they dovetail together and maybe complement each other and ultimately merge. So I think I'm going to pass it back to the board or anybody that wants to add something. But I think today we would be happy to help you kind of give us some specific direction, VCTC, county, restoration, whether that goes. And then we could go ahead and work with Jennifer and her office on budgeting for the next year, getting whoever operates it a solid footing on go ahead and run it full swing, and be able to do that with some level of confidence. Come on up, Jennifer.
Jennifer McCain for the record. While VCTC runs Piper's Opera House and sets up the events and has employees that are there, Piper's Opera House, as a county entity, does have its own fund. It's a fund that the county general fund supports every year. We transfer money in there for general operations. As a budgeting perspective, that budget would just grow significantly whether we add employees that work under the direction of the BCTC or they are their own actual department with their own fund to run. They would have their own expense and revenue numbers, just as it does now. I 100% agree with Commissioner Mitchell that we want to get out of the landlord business. If we end up with not going in that direction, all of those revenues from that rent and those kind of things would stay being dropped into that fund.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Northland, just as VC resident, I've been watching this process for a little bit, and I just had some thoughts and opinions I'd like to share with the board as a friend of the board. The 501c3s appear to have some limitations, to say the least. They have their own interests, capabilities, motivations. I agree there is probably no business model that makes Piper's a profitable building in the way that a private enterprise would view it. I don't think that exists. By retaining county control over that building, I think right there, by definition, you're not in the landlord business, so I think that solves that. I can tell you the county has ample in-house capabilities. Now, I'm not speaking to funding, I'm not speaking to capacity, although that could change quickly. But certainly the county has in-house capabilities to take on the preservation, restoration, large-scale structural retrofit types of projects. In fact, right now we're picking off HSR items. Mr. Trotta has been working through some of those, the column and the entry, the windows and doors. There's no reason that cannot continue. Speaking to the operations, I agree. I think it's a good idea to separate restoration from daily operation. That's probably a good thing to do. Speaking to the operations, a 501c3 would not appear to solve the competition issue. I can guarantee you, if I'm a 501c3 scrambling for money, I'll take whatever event I can shoehorn in there. So I don't know that that's going to help you much. In my opinion, there's existing county staff that certainly has the ability, probably not the numbers, I don't dispute that, but certainly has the ability to operate that building as a venue. But I think most importantly, I would end with, whatever you guys do, excuse me, I would definitely strongly suggest that you solicit community input. This is their building, and I think it'd be wise to solicit what the county or what the community has a vision for that building in its final use, disposition, its level of use, and that sort of thing. And thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Not seeing any. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any additional comments after?
None. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chairman?
So I think it's become clear that an RFQ asking for someone to be involved with the restoration piece is probably not the direction that we want to go. And I guess the question I'm left with is there value in continuing some sort of process around an RFQ on the operations art side, or do we drop the RFP process completely and look at other ways to structure where we're going from here? Maybe it's a sunk cost fallacy, but we're down the road on this RFQ thing a bit, and so if we've decided that it doesn't make sense for us to have a nonprofit or someone involved in the restoration side, that the county's probably the right entity to do that, then the question is, do we just let it go and handle it internally, or is there still value in looking at someone on a limited focus on the other side to see what comes back to us as far as a proposal to operate it as an arts venue?
That's a good question, Vice Chairman. My gut is leaning towards relieving the VCTC of that responsibility. I know that there's an employee there that I would like to take into consideration, because does that mean that person is no longer employed? Will that person transfer over to the county? If the county's going to take on that responsibility, I would probably need to think more about the RFQ to let someone handle the arts aspect of it. I don't know that that's a bad idea, but I'm definitely leaning towards the county taking on this responsibility, finding somebody, like we talked about, to handle taking care of pipers. That's their sole responsibility. That is definitely the direction I feel comfortable going. Again, I'm not, I'd need to maybe look into what the RFQ would be for somebody just running the arts side of it. I think the county person could handle booking events, going out there and looking for, you know, performers that want to come up here. So I don't know. I guess I'm a bit torn on bringing somebody in on the RFQ side, but I definitely am supportive of the county getting somebody into that position and starting to look after pipers. You know, if 5, 6 years down the road, we do build a community center here, or you know, my understanding is that the school properties are pretty much packed with offices and hopefully commission chambers for those coming after us. So I don't know what availability is there. I know the elementary school gym, I think, is off limits now. I think the school is keeping that gym, so that.
The middle school gym?
The middle school gym, yeah, sorry. Because I know that was something we had talked about having access to.
Well, I would remind as well that if we're building a new justice center, then that potentially opens up what's currently the justice court, which is kind of outfitted like commission chambers already. I mean, there's a broader conversation around facilities. So let me, help me understand this. If we're going to take operations, events, private event sales out of the VCTC, where does it more properly live within the county structure? Who's better equipped? Are we hiring a standalone person under the county who supervises them? I'm not seeing a better place in my mind. And to me, having the VCTC manage it is the county managing it, in essence.
I'd be happy to explain some things if you'd like.
Sure.
Maybe this will be helpful, maybe not. Austin Osborne for the record. So there's all the different pieces that were involved on that property that are important. One is it's a community center. We know what a community center is. Second thing is it's an event center, so operas and plays and shows and theater. It is also a restoration component, so you have that part of bringing the building up to where it needs to be. And then there's a day use component, and the day use component at the moment is we are currently filling downstairs underneath us. We're going to fill that building up with the project managers and some folks that we need to take on all of these grant-funded projects that we're working on. So that, in addition to the elections occurring in that room, there's no place for staff to meet. I will be actually putting a portion of my office on a calendar that it'll be, you know, being able to be booked out by certain things for small meetings, and then I'm working in other offices to make up for that. But there's nothing anymore in that, so we would need that building for, like, there's a front room where we could do small meetings during the day, and then the larger room for kind of like department head meetings, things like that. So there's a day use component. And then there's a component that wasn't talked about much today, is the curation component, and that's the artifacts. And some of these things spill into other things. We have a museum downstairs. We have the Comstock Historic District that we're working on doing a migration pattern through whatever means that we possibly can, being led by Commissioner Mitchell, very appreciated. But there's that. And there's some other historical related issues we're running into with some of our other county-owned buildings like the B Street Barn or Liberty Engine 1. There's all these other historic artifacts that we have that are buildings and facilities in the county that need to be reevaluated and looked at and see how are we going to get these things up to par where they need to be. Our team has spent quite a bit of time not developing a final plan, but looking at how would we tackle all of these things together. And we do have some preliminary ideas that if this board was to direct this to go under county, that we would immediately start building a real comprehensive plan, especially with the comptroller, to make sure it can be funded properly, to not only address operating pipers, but restoring pipers and getting these other things kind of pulled in. a function like that may land under one of our department heads, like Laura's office, for example, potentially with Sarah, that there's some kind of already background going in that direction. It may land somewhere else. It may involve multiple. But we do believe that we'd be able to put a plan together and budget for it, whichever way you want to go, and make these things, kind of pull it all together and have a plan for this. These are things that have been discussed even prior to my management. In the prior administration, I talked about one day kind of pulling all these things together into a function that would be able to kind of really put the attention to our historic resources that are needed. So in short, I think we're prepared for whatever this board wants to give direction to make that happen. We'd be happy to come back to this board during the budget session and communicate and collaborate with it very closely so you can see where we're going and make sure you're comfortable with it.
All right, thank you.
I'm having a little trouble because those different areas are so different. I'm having a hard time seeing how they properly or efficiently fit under one roof. I did also want to point out that there's a current day use at the Opera House, and that's tours that are given. And so it's important when we're looking at the needs of the county that we don't discount a current attraction that adds to the tourism component here in the town, and find a way to balance that out with the other needs that we have as a county. I don't see it as necessarily something that the county should just take and start using for internal purposes. To me, that's antithetical to what we're trying to do with it. Certainly, I don't have a problem with us using it as we can, but I want to be very sensitive about taking away things that it's already doing that are providing, in my mind, important roles within the county. I don't know.
Well, are you prepared to make a motion at this time, or are you not?
I mean, what would the motion be?
Well, it's going to be, I think, to either direct staff. I mean, we've got to figure out the VCTC component. You know, I mean, for budgetary purposes, it's, I don't want to say we're running out of time, but I think we should make a decision sooner rather than later, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think that, I think there are two different pieces here. One is the budget and the resources. Now, I don't know how granular we need to get on that, because as the comptroller said, we have a fund specific to the Opera House, and so we can put money into that fund before we figured out who's going to be using it, spending it, managing it, whatever. I mean, we have to have some level of specificity with that, but that's separate from what's the plan. And comptroller, maybe we can budget without having a plan, or kind of having a plan.
Jennifer McCain, for the record, can I, as far as the budgeting is concerned and the planning, I would suggest a motion that says something to the effect of directing staff to budget appropriately as a standalone department with the option to kind of massage that as we move closer to the beginning of the fiscal year. If we plan to have the Opera House run by its own management, its own director, if we wanted to go in that direction with admin assistance behind that, that's something that we can budget for. And if we get closer to the beginning of the year, the decision is that events are still going to be run by VCTC, that budget is available to them. The employees that work under Pipers are still county employees. Technically, in my world and in HR world, VCTC employees are county employees. So it's just a different level of management and hierarchy that the employees who currently work there would have to work under. So instructing us to budget for that worst case scenario of having another department head would probably leave you open to have the availability for more decisions as the year progresses.
Okay, well, I'll go back to my initial feelings and what pushed me to put this on the agenda. I am less interested in looking at an RFQ for an outside party I'm more interested in either the VCTC or the county taking over running that building. I'm trying to simplify it. So that's where I'm at right at this moment.
Some input from VCTC, Todd Tuttle, Director of Tourism. We're very interested in being able to keep or maintain and give direction to Pipers itself. Our biggest problem is being able to know that we're locked into that, know what our budget is, what we should be preparing for. We would be inclined to put together a proposal of how to operate the business. That would mean increasing the staff, what we'd be doing for operation, and making that as a presentation for the board to also review to keep it in the VCTC wheelhouse, or moving it out to an outside department where the county controls it directly and VCTC becomes a support staff to have that, providing the daily tours that are going on or the functions that are happening where we have setup or breakdown, that we would then provide the staff for it. So either of those directions fit well within the VCTC to be able to make sure that it goes in the right way and the right directions.
Thank you for that clarification, Todd. Then that so much more solidifies my thoughts. I would like us to lean in that direction, whether it's us or the VCTC. That's where I think Pipers needs to head.
So it appears the span of the item today is basically to direct in regards to the RFQ.
Do we continue with the RFQ or not?
Right.
I think, yep.
I mean, it's not to come up with a plan and new department head and, like, to me, that seems a little bit beyond what we're talking about today. I mean, we want to instruct staff to come back with something, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, staff can come back with something. Todd said they'd be happy to put something together.
Yep.
You know, but I think, you know, if everybody's comfortable with it today, I think that's the direction we need to head and not further the RFQ process.
Mr. Chairman, I've taken some notes along this, and there's some elements to a motion I'd be happy to help you with. But I want to kind of reiterate, there is a blank on here, and I do think I want all three of you to recognize, including Commissioner Mitchell, that what I'm hearing from this isn't just to not do the RFQ and hope for the best. I would be happy to work with our team on developing a plan and coming back to this board during the budget session, and then it'll probably take a little longer, but at least at this point, we'll have a kind of a one-year plan of what we're going to do immediately. And then we can work with this board on a plan of where we want to go, whether it's sooner than later, on these elements. And then a written plan that's got some findings and some facts and some numbers. And then this board can continue to look at that and direct staff like a strategic plan. And then we could get this a little bit tied in, a little bit better organized with a little bit more time that we would need to do that. And so to me, walking away from this isn't just doing one thing. I think there is a direction to put something together that's going to work and be comfortable to this board.
That works for me.
I think I got something.
Okay.
You good, dude? All right. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to accept county staff's update regarding the status of the development of the request for qualifications for the operation, management, and restoration of Piper's Opera House, and to direct the county staff as follows: to budget for increased focus and internal support for Piper's Opera House, and to return with policy options and suggestions regarding its management.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item number 28 is discussion for possible action. Consideration and possible approval of resolution number 26-817, a resolution declaring Story County's intent in its decision to lease a portion of the assessor's parcel number 001-082-14, known as the Old Corner Bar or the Saloon area of Piper's Opera House, as authorized within NRS 244.283 and other properly related matters thereto. Was that your gift or was that Austin's?
Lacey myself for the record. This was my gift.
Well done.
Thanks.
I like the there too.
Okay.
There too, thank you.
So this is a draft resolution 26-817 with the intent to lease the corner bar, the saloon area, in accordance with NRS 244-283, which requires a description of the property, a minimal rental amount, which we obtained through market appraisal, which came in at $1,460. This also includes terms of the lease, which goes over the rents due, utilities. We included in for power and water. What we did for Pipers was for the corner bar section of Pipers is we pulled up what the utility bills were for the last year and then determined what the percentage was for corner bar based on the square footage. Should this resolution be adopted today, it will be published in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks, starting on February 6th and then again on February 13th. And it will also be placed on our website in the bid section. And then we're required to have it open for 3 weeks before we actually come back and revisit it, which would put us in on March 3rd to open sealed bids and call for any oral bids. This could be changed, this resolution, based on the last decision that was made. And I'll let Brian, legal counsel, if he could weigh in on this. One of the paragraphs stated that the lease agreement will be made and entered into with Story County, a political subdivision of the state of Nevada, and Story County was to transfer management of lease to nonprofit upon selection of nonprofit to manage Piper's Opera House. You may have a recommendation to remove that very last sentence. In paragraph 7, we also mentioned that the leasing may negotiate to renew with the lessor, who would be Story County or the nonprofit organization managing Piper's Opera House, if applicable. We could also strike that sentence if it's recommended. And then in paragraph 8, it said, should a nonprofit organization not be selected during the initial lease term, Story County remains the lessor. So we could manage that sentence, and basically the lease could be extended on a month-to-month basis for up to 12 months, or the lease may be terminated, or it could be extended depending on what that time frame is. But that's what I have, pending any questions from you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Brian, before I go to commission questions, did you have anything to add there?
No, Lisa did a very clean, weeks. If the board's deciding non-profit, we can remove those, or we can have them as an alternative in the lease.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Brian. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
No, sir, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I do, a couple. So, yeah, given the action that we have just taken, I don't necessarily feel we should remove the nonprofit language on the off chance that we do decide that becomes part of things, but I think making it very, very optional, if you will. So should the county decide that that's a direction to go, we already have the framework in place for it. But maybe an acknowledgement that we're not actively pursuing it, because I think that may affect the bidding process, and I want to be as upfront, transparent with folks as possible and give them the clearest picture. While certainly it would be appropriate typically to charge for utilities on the other property that the county has, we do not charge for utilities, if I remember correctly. And out of a sense of fairness, I don't think it's appropriate for us, while we have another property that we're not. I think we should have consistency in our policy and match that. Okay. Which I don't love, but I think that's the overriding thing that's important. I had kind of envisioned the potential for extending a little bit differently, because month to month is what happens automatically once a lease is over. That is the default situation. And so I don't feel that needs to be called out. I think what we were trying to accomplish here was giving some stability more long term. Given that we're not exploring, and we've made the decision not to explore nonprofit, it seems to me that offering a more solid, longer term extension seems like the right, of course, with both parties agreeing or whatever that language looks like. Typically, under a lease like this, we're allowed up to 3 years on the initial with a 2-year extension. And to me, I think we should take that into account. I don't think it adds much to specifically say it can go month to month after that, because that's what happens if we do nothing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on the lease aspect. I think there's an issue with us changing the terms of the lease. Did I understand that correctly, Brian? Is there like a reposting that needs to happen?
Sorry, I talked over you, Mr. Chairman, can you repeat?
Do we need to like repost everything? Did I pick up on that in my questions earlier, prior to this meeting?
No, I don't think we need to repost anything. We're here with the initial potential lease, and then you could change the language today, and then that's what would be posted in the paper.
Gotcha.
And the notices that.
Okay, so we can actually, instead of a year, say 2 or 3 years. Yep.
Yes, if you all that during this meeting, any of the terms, that will be accomplished, then that new document would be posted and proceed as Lisa described.
Okay. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. A year is tight, so.
Yeah. So I'm happy to hear what kind of thoughts or preferences from either staff or my fellow commissioners as far as length of an initial lease and then length of potential to extend. I don't have a strong feeling there.
Commissioner Gilman, do you want to jump in, or I'm happy to jump in?
Please go ahead first.
I'd ideally like to see it at least 2. I'm comfortable with 3.
Okay. So 2 or 3 on the initial with an option to extend?
Correct.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Vice Chairman?
Yeah, I'm good either way.
I do just want to get some clarification. I understand where you're coming from with the power and water, but if we're going to change things, now would be the time to do that so that we are doing this on the next lease that we do somewhere else. Right now would be the proper time to put this in place. Before we get somebody in here and then another lease comes up and then we have to look at doing that, and then why didn't we do this on the first one? So I just think right now, if we're going to do it, it's the proper time to do it.
Sure, that's fair.
Here's the only problem that I came up with. So my initial complaints were I was not comfortable with, hey, you have 25% of the building, you pay 25% of the power. What I had originally felt was, I think the proper way to do it would be to set up a separate meter, right? Because if I was the renter, who knows what I'm doing? I could mine Bitcoin in the back closet, and the county's, footing the bill, or I'm only paying 25%.
Great idea. I'm going to recuse because I
Right?
may be bidding on this.
That's why I mentioned Bitcoin mining. But all jokes aside, I don't know that either one of the 2 buildings that we own have that capability.
Sure.
I think the way that the Bullion building was built, I think it's too complicated to separate the power, and then the same thing at Piper's. But I know where you're going, and I agree with you, because to me,
personally have a lease in Reno on a building that is shared with another tenant, and I pay a certain amount for my power versus what they pay, and I pay a lot less, and I have less of the building. If I were to start doing something like Bitcoin mining, then the landlord would step in and say, here, you have to come up with this amount because you're doing that kind of Bitcoin thing.
Right.
So there is a way for us to put something in our lease that says if you are using an abundance of power in said square footage, that we can revisit, this amount. I think that would be the proper way to do it. It's how it's standard. I mean, that's standard through leasing all over the area. So I think it's something that we should look at.
yeah, so I'm not against it at all. I mean, like I said, I don't, my only concern is how do we adequately break it down? I mean, I know there's like a meter you can plug in devices to and gauge how much is being used. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure it's fair for both the county and for the.
I think if it's a cost-effective way for the county to put a different meter in there, I totally understand. My understanding of putting another meter in, it's very expensive to do.
Yeah.
And so separating the 2 is a little more difficult. The monetary value here that we're asking to be paid, I don't think is unreasonable for the square footage that's there.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, but I just thought I should share that.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, and I'm on board with making the change now so that we're getting on the right track. I like the idea of having a flat rate because I think that's gives some stability for them with maybe a caveat or a circuit breaker that says if power usage increases significantly, lessor and lessee will come back and renegotiate or something like that.
Great.
And maybe we even put a number on it. Maybe if like, the power bill doubles or what, I don't know. We come up with what we think is an acceptable range that we go, hey, this triggers a further conversation about power usage.
Actually, I'm sorry. They've been shut down for 2 months. Do we know what the drop is in power cost?
We can find out.
There you go. Perfect.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Lisa
Why
Missel
do it
for,
the easy one? We can make it twice as hard.
Why don't you come up with that 5 minutes ago?
Lisa Missel for the record. I will say that there is some space heaters in there right now, and there's no pellet stove in there too, which I do think might affect a few little things.
Okay.
Also, Public Works did get the new boiler installed in there too, so that may also have another effect as well. One of the recommendations I have maybe under the utilities and services is that annually we go back and do a review just to see if the numbers are still kind of matching up to where they should be or if there's been a significant increase or decrease, and then adjust it at that point in time.
That works for me.
Austin Osborne for the record. I want to add something in there that could be important. I appreciate the board wanting to look at potentially more than a 1-year initial lease. Our concern without looking further is the appraisal was done, and it's possible that the appraisal's value is based off of a 1-year term. And if it was a 2-year term, of course, the appraisal may come out differently.
Yeah,
To
but
not cause further delay, we could either go find out what the issue is and maybe.
That is, the appraisal discounted the amount by 30% based on that situation, but since we've also made a decision not to pursue an RFQ, that was also something that they took into account for the lease amount. Given that this is an open bidding process and not an offer, I think it's totally acceptable to start with a lower bidding price because the market will determine what the market pays. And we know we have, several people have expressed interest in bidding, and so I don't have a problem starting at a lower rate, even though that takes into account a shorter lease, because if it's worth more, then people will pay more for it.
And if we're gonna go to a 2 or 3 year lease, then we need to have some kind of a scale where it goes up each year. I'm assuming that we would put that in this contract?
Typically.
Lisa Missel for the record. We can definitely do that. We can either look at a scale or we could potentially go back and request another market appraisal to determine if the rent's changed.
What was the cost of that appraisal?
$6,000.
I'm not sure that's necessary.
Same
I
here.
think we can just go off of what market rates are. There is a percentage of market rate across all areas of how much, and it could be as simple as a 3% increase,
Okay.
over each year or something. It could be more than that, but I think it's something that we could come up with very easily.
Okay. I'm
So
good with that.
Are you suggesting that's something we included this resolution period, that that's a must, that that's an expectation? Because it is gonna be an open bidding process. We don't know what that starting lease amount is actually going to be.
Sure.
And so, or does that become some part of the offer?
Well, I think it could be as part of the offer. We could just stick with this amount and then do an increase from there. I understand it's only a year lease, but again, I don't think it's unreasonable from what I've seen.
Not at all. I think a standard amount in at this point, I think it makes less variables when we have to encounter what's probably gonna be, potentially could be a chaotic situation. Accepting verbal and written bids in a meeting. Seems like maybe locking in something that's very reasonable on an annual increase then everyone knows what that is and there are less variables to deal with.
Okay, that works for me.
May I kick in just to make sure that I understand the proposed lease that needs to go out for bid would set that minimum amount for the grant, but if there was a desire to have a percentage increase,
Right, so Brian, that in essence means that that is something that we should include in this resolution that then carries over into all the other documents?
That's correct.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Is there any public comment at this time? Not seeing any. Are you prepared to make a motion?
So the specific changes that we're going to ask for in relation to this document are the length of term.
Yep.
Do we want an initial 2 or 3 year that we're proposing? But so we're allowed up to, under law, I believe we're allowed up to 3 years with an up to 2 year extension at the end of that.
If it were me, I would prefer 3 years. If I was going to invest some money into this business, I would prefer 3 years.
Okay. So a 3 + 2?
Yeah.
Adjust the language around the RFQ, the nonprofit, to reflect the fact that we're not actively seeking that.
Yeah.
Add an annual utility cost review. Is that how we want to approach that one? And
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
an annual review, and maybe to include some language around excessive use or significant changes, something like that. And the last one, which I think we were just discussing,
Is a 3%
annual increase.
Annual increase.
I mean, do we just want to set it at 3%? Is that reasonable, or do we want to
I'm okay, I mean, that's a cost of
target it to
living
CPI
expense.
or something?
You know, that's a cost of living increase. I'm okay with that, if you're okay with that. That's a minimal amount.
It seems,
Reasonable?
yeah.
Okay. Lisa, while Clay's putting a motion together, the bid packet, if you will, is available online right now.
Not yet, it will be after it's signed.
Obviously,
signed
sorry,
by you.
after the meeting. And there's a link to the website, because I'm sure I'm going to get asked.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so if you go on to the Story County webpage, on the left-hand column, down kind of towards the bottom on the menu, it says our bids, RFQs, and RFIs. If you click on there, then you go in, there's 3 different spots. One's for Public Works, one's for Planning, and one says miscellaneous. This will be in the miscellaneous section.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay. I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to approve Resolution 26
Oh, sorry, hold on. The
Yeah.
county manager had a last-minute idea.
Oh, yeah.
No problem. I do want to ask, since we're toward the end of the agenda, can we ask for like a 3-minute break just for us to ask a quick question of legal, and then we just come right back to this and finish the motion? We just want to check with the technicality.
Sure.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Oh, good. I remember what word I stopped on. I'll start on the next word there.
3-minute break?
3-minute break.
Thank you.
3 actual or 3 Comstock?
I'm sorry? Please pause the meeting. We're going to take a short recess.
Would you adjourn or whatever?
We're going to go ahead and. YouTube is still transmitting. All right.
a closed session after this?
Yeah.
me up when we're ready, would you? Just wake me up when we're ready, would you?
I could have gone downstairs and had a smoke. Okay, well, if they open the door, text me. Catch me halfway down the stairs. I said just catch me. Text me if I get downstairs. Text me if they show up.
I'll text you.
Maybe you all wait.
The minute you walk out that door, I'm sure.
Sure. Well, that's why I'm walking out the door. Time to reconvene.
Sarah, we have somebody that wants to rent your pad. What? We have somebody that wants to rent your pad. Your pad. Oh.
Jay.
Just lit up his cigarette, I'm sure.
I know, probably.
He literally just walked out of here a couple minutes ago.
I feel bad. If we need to, I'm sure we can find a non-domesticated carrier pigeon to take a message to him. fasting, it's fasting.
Where's this guy?
I think he's just bringing Lisa up to speed on what we did with a clean item.
Tell me when you're settled in, Mr. Chair.
I'm settled in.
We're just gonna maybe wait till Austin gets back.
We have resumed.
All right, thank you. All right, sorry about the delay, folks. It's 1:45. We're going to go ahead and reconvene. So where are we?
We're on a motion, and I'm happy to explain. There's one additional change or term that I'd like to change, and I just want to make sure that you as a board are comfortable with that.
Okay.
And that is this, we're not allowed by law to lease under market value unless we specifically pass a resolution that's in the best interest of the county to do so. Because the appraisal specifically calls out the short 12-month lease term and the lack of options to renew as a reason that he got down to the price that he did, in my opinion, it would be the cleanest way to do this is to pass it, but to have him look at, with the new lease term that we're proposing, what that value becomes, and then insert that into our documents, and off we go as our beginning bid. And that way we are not running afoul of starting the bidding at a value that's below market. And the reason for that, again, is specifically, he said, I reduced this because there's no option to renew and because it's only 12 months. Now that we've lengthened it out, unfortunately, he didn't give us a price for a 3-year. He didn't say what it would be if it was 3 years, or we could have relied on that.
Okay.
And so we don't, at this point, have an exact number that we say this is what the market rent is based on the terms that we're offering. And so what I would propose is that we approve it, but before the documents are published, that he is consulted with this change, and he comes back to us, and I've been assured that that can happen quickly. And then he'll come back to whatever the market value is based on the new lease term. That's the only thing that would be changing, is that we're no longer looking for the nonprofit to take over. And then my motion would be to go forward with it, but with whatever that amount is that he comes back with as a starting bid. And that's what would be published and noticed.
Do you know at what cost that's going to be for us to find that out for him?
I don't.
I mean, it can't be at the 6,000 because he doesn't have to do all the
Correct.
work on
It's
that.
not a full new appraisal. It's basically just asking him to relook at one particular aspect of it. So I don't know.
He doesn't have to visit the property again and all those different things.
Okay. I mean, we don't have a choice, right?
We could delay.
I'd rather not delay it.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's in my mind, that's the way that we keep it moving forward.
Yeah, I'd like to keep it moving forward.
And so if we don't, then we probably need to bring it back to us at a later time. And I think this is, in my mind, the best way to move it forward, so we don't have to wait for another of our meetings to report back and adopt it, but instead we make the motion that he'll come up with it, it'll be put in there, and that's where we start the bidding. And the only reason I feel comfortable with this is if this wasn't just a lease negotiation with someone, I would want a firm number. But because it's going to open bid,
right,
the market will decide, people will decide if it's worth it. We get bids or we don't. It gets bid up or it doesn't. But we'll have a starting point that's what he determines is appropriate based on that new information.
Okay. That works. Appreciate the explanation.
So, does that feel okay?
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be.
Yeah. All right, so I, Commissioner Mitchell, move to approve Resolution 26-817, a resolution declaring Story County's intent and its decision to lease a portion of Assessor's Parcel number 001-082-14, known as the Old Corner Bar, or the saloon area of Piper's Opera House, as authorized within NRS 244.283, and other matters properly related thereto, with these following specific changes. Number 1, to lengthen the term to a 3-year initial term with an option to renew for 2 more. Number 2, to adjust language around the RFQ and nonprofit to reflect the fact that the county is not actively seeking a nonprofit to manage Piper's Opera House. Number 3, to include wording that utility use is subject to an annual review, particularly if there's excessive use or change in the amount of utility usage. Number 4, to include an annual increase on the lease of 3% per year. And number 5, to be subject to the updated minimum bid amount from the appraiser to reflect the different lease term that will be included in the published documents.
I got a clarification question,
Second.
please, before you motion.
Go ahead. Second.
Okay, Austin Osborne for the record. One question I want to ask for clarification. It's a 3-year term, and you said with 2 more, allow 2 more what?
No, there's an option to renew for 2 more years.
For 2 more years, okay, not 2 more 3.
No, we're not allowed by
terms.
law to do
Great.
anything more than
Thank you.
3 and 2.
Perfect. Thank you.
So there's a motion. Do we have a second?
Yep.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. And so we'll just let folks know, check in on the website every day.
Correct. Lisa Missel for the record. It probably will not be today that I get the information back, so the dates changed for the newspaper may be pushed a week as well.
Okay? All right, thank you very much for that. All right, on to item number 29, discussion for possible action, consideration and possible authorization for the county manager to sign and approve a contract from January through December 2026 between Story County and Sam Shad Productions, producing and airing with Nevada newsmakers, Assyria television commercials, website banners, links, audio and video podcasts, YouTube clips, and social media outreach program for a total cost of $100,000. County Manager.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Austin Osborne for the record. Annually, we do look at whether we want to continue our relationship with Nevada newsmakers and Sam Shad Productions. What Sam has done for us into these contracts is provide us general marketing as it applies to regional importance issues and transportation and regional legislative matters and other things that affect us annually through legislative actions and regional issues. He provides specific services, including ads, both on television as well as his website and his podcasts. He interviews us regularly, as well as others, and publishing those on his website and on TV about various issues. He maintains podcasts and banners on his website and does other things throughout the legislative sessions and non-legislative sessions that I believe really help promote the message of Story County and its what it's doing for the region positively and its interactions with its neighbors in the state of Nevada. This amount is adjusted for a non-legislative year. This would be for a 1-year period of time, and I'm recommending approval of this, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Austin. Commissioner Gilman, do you have any questions or comments?
Comments. I think Sam does a great job for us, and I would like to continue doing this. I just, every meeting that I go to, people talk to me about how they've seen one of us on the show, or Austin on the show, or somebody from the county, and so I just think it's a good thing for us to be doing with Sam.
Noted, thank you. Vice Chairman?
Yeah, I'm supportive as well.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, Commissioner Mitchell authorize the county manager to sign and approve a contract for January through December of 2026 between Story County and Sam Shad Productions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 30, which is discussion for possible action, consideration and possible approval of business license second readings A through F. Commissioner Gilman, questions or comments?
None, thank you.
Vice Chairman?
I'm good.
Public comment. Not seeing any. Vice Chairman, you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the second reading of business licenses listed under item 30 as A through F.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. On to item number 31. This is the second and final time for public comment during this meeting. Is there any public comment in the courtroom today? Not seeing any, it's going to bring us to item number 32, which is adjournment of all active and recess boards on the agenda. We will see you all in 2 weeks. It is 1:54 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. And then we've got closed session.